A single white feather drifts through the air as a voice questions the strangeness of their situation. Atop a ruined clock tower, Yuji wonders why. As heroes, they must strike down innocent people. A gloved hand reaches out, a voice agreeing that this wrongness is why they must act. It is his brother, Rune, who smiles brightly and asks Yuji to help him save the world. Surrounded by rubble, a stunned Yuji can only whisper his brother's name in disbelief. He clutches a winged, eye-shaped object, his mind racing, faced with a monumental choice. The title appears, Choice of Error Hero, showing the two brothers, one with a gun, one thoughtful. The story opens in Dubray, a world where technology was developed to amplify magic. Everyone is born with one magical attribute, but now most can only use fire or thunder. Into this world, a boy with bright, hopeful eyes, a child of miracles, was born. A young Rune is celebrated by his family for possessing the incredibly rare light attribute. His father looks on proudly, then turns his thoughts to his other son, Yuji. Young Yuji sadly holds a tiny flame, his magic too weak to measure, his attribute a common fire. His father, furious at the disparity, banishes Yuji to study, denying him dinner. With fists clenched, Yuji can only whisper his sorrowful, obedient agreement. Later, under a full moon, the sharp crack of a pistol echoes through the night. At shooting range, Yuji sighs in frustration, his shots still inconsistent. He feels useless, unable to finish on time, and fears his father's inevitable anger. He wonders desperately how he might finally earn the praise he so deeply desires. Rune appears, his face alight with admiration, praising Yugi's incredible shooting skill. Yuji, ashamed, dismisses his talent as useless and asks why his brother is there. Rune reveals a basket of food, confessing that he secretly brought it for him. He knows Yuji must be hungry and warns that their father would be furious if he found out. Yuji looks up, his eyes wide with surprise at this risky act of kindness. Later, Rune excitedly demonstrates a new spell, summoning a tiny, glowing fairy. He tells Yuji to be free, but the words feel hollow. Yuji knows it's no good. He feels the immense, ever-widening gap between himself and his perfect brother. Clutching his gun, he decides that God is cruel and this world is fundamentally unfair. Rune asks if he feels abandoned. Yuji can only manage a small, questioning sound. Near tears, Yuji feels he doesn't belong and has no idea what he should do. Rune firmly places a hand on his book, telling him it's far too early to give up. He promises to find Yugi's purpose, asking only for his brother's trust and obedience. Trusting his brother, Yugi's path was set. Deciding how to live his life was simple. Several years flash by, marking the start of a new, more serious chapter. Rune D. Lavendier is hailed as the next hero, his magic evaluated at the highest rank SS. As a descendant of heroes, Rune is seen as a star of hope for the entire world. In stark contrast, the announcer calls for the next contestant, Yuji D. Lavendier. Yuji aims his gun and confidently casts a simple fire spell from its barrel. The fiery projectiles strike each target with perfect, unerring accuracy. His peers whisper that despite his aim, his rank F magic makes him a failure. Yuji walks alone, knowing that despite his best efforts, he can only use beginner magic. Rune watches him, troubled, wishing his brother could properly handle that hidden power. Yuji turns, startled, as his brother calls out his name. Rune runs to him, apologizing profusely for the poor results of their training. He again thinks of that mysterious power, worried about what it might do to Yugi's body. He laments his own powerlessness, unable to find another way to help his brother improve. Yuji believes his brother is perfect. The failure must be his own lack of effort. He forces a cheerful smile, promising to train even harder and follow Rune's instructions. Rune is visibly touched by his brother's unwavering devotion and earnestness. Clasping hands, Rune says they'll work hard together. Yuji hopes he can one day be his equal. As they stand together, a royal messenger suddenly calls out to Rune. The brothers look up in surprise as they are urgently summoned to the palace. Night falls over their grand estate, the moon hanging brightly in the sky. Their father returns home, ascending the main staircase and calling for Rune. From a balcony, Yuji asks what happened after the king summoned his brother. Rune, now wearing a hero's medal, announces he is going to subjugate the demon lord. Their parents are stunned into silence by the sudden, grave news. Yuji is completely bewildered, marked by a massive question mark and exclamation points. Rune explains the demon lord is consuming the world's mana, causing it to wither and die. As a hero's descendant with the light attribute, Rune believes he was chosen for this quest. He feels he was granted this special power for this very day, and so he must go. His father boasts of his chosen son, telling Yuji he could be a source of strength for Rune. Rune looks at Yuji, his eyes sparkling, and says that is precisely why. He asks Yuji to join him with a brilliant smile. Yuji thinks his brother is always right. Yuji agrees, believing there must be a greater meaning to his brother's request. He says yes, and with that, their fateful journey together began. Throughout their travels, his brother's strategic commands were always perfect. They faced mortal danger, but thanks to Rune, their party suffered minimal casualties. Yuji felt useless and weak, unable to contribute in any meaningful way. In what felt like no time at all, they arrived at the demon lord's ominous castle. Inside the throne room, they finally confront the hulking demon lord, Nibirius. As his comrades panic, Rune calmly tells them to settle down, assessing the powerful foe. He issues his first command, ordering the mage unit to target the monster's left arm. He then directs the shield bearers to form a wall and the swordsmen to flank from the right. He calls to Yuji, ordering him to provide covering fire for the others as they advance. Their combined assault lands, and the demon lord staggers back under the onslaught. Rune declares the enemy is at its limit and asks Yuji to assist with the final blow. Just as Yuji agrees, he sees a female knight get thrown back by a devastating attack. He realizes she is gravely injured and knows he must help her immediately. He calls out to Rune, pleading with him to heal their fallen comrade. Rune smiles brightly, reminding Yuji that his own request should take priority. He promises to heal her after the demon lord is defeated. Yuji reluctantly agrees. He tells himself that his brother's instructions have always been correct until now. Therefore, this must be the right course of action. There is no mistake. But a sliver of doubt enters his mind, the fear of being wrong. A deeper, more primal fear surfaces in his thoughts. He does not want to die. Another warrior checks on Yuji just as Rune shouts for him to act now. Yuji looks up from the chaos, a single, confused escaping his lips. He stares past the demon lord in utter shock, his mind unable to process what he is seeing. A massive blade, wielded by their own ally, has erupted through Rune's chest from behind. Rune lets out a pained grunt, his hero's metal splattered with his own blood. Yuji lets out a raw, agonized scream, witnessing the horrific betrayal. He thinks to himself that this cannot be happening, that this isn't how it should be. Kneeling in a brilliant magic circle, Rune asks if this is because Yuji disobeyed him. Blinded by the intense light, Yuji curses, unable to see or understand. He screams his brother's name and runs towards him, desperate to help. He reaches out a hand, but is completely engulfed by the blinding light and smoke. He wonders where he is, if he has been transported to another world. The chapter ends. Yuji finds himself in a grand hall, welcomed as a hero, and immediately asks about his brother. A kingly man apologizes for the abrupt summoning and pleads with them to save his world. Disoriented in a strange hall, Yugi's first panicked thought was for his brother. He looked toward the doors, realizing with a jolt that Rune was gone. A broken, star-shaped emblem lay on the floor where his brother just stood. Clutching a similar item, he frantically wondered where in the world he was. A calm, Blonde Knight asked their mysterious hosts for a detailed explanation. A schoolgirl with twin tails pleaded, certain this must be another world. An arrogant prince yawned, warning them not to waste his precious time. EUG realized they were all strangers, wondering if Rune was sent elsewhere. A regal voice apologized for their abrupt summoning, asking for their patience. A young woman descended the steps, addressing someone as father. With a brilliant smile, she welcomed the assembled group as heroes. EUG was momentarily stunned by her beauty, thinking she looked like a doll. She explained they were summoned through a secret art of the royal family. Her radiant smile made EUG blush, feeling flustered and embarrassed. This world, she revealed, was called Crispell, a land in mortal danger. A recently revived demon god now threatened to annihilate their entire country. She pleaded with them, explaining that only power from another world could help. EUG was completely overwhelmed, stammering at the sudden, immense request. The schoolgirl desperately asked if they could return to their own world. EUG considered this, thinking he should find his brother before anything else. He nodded in agreement, a chibi version of himself looking determined. The handsome knight was the first to offer his cooperation. The prince and the schoolgirl enthusiastically agreed to help as well. From a high balcony, a kingly voice thanked the heroes for their aid. The king introduced himself and asked the heroes for their names. The knight went first, introducing himself as Chris Hart Arcturus, a holy knight. The schoolgirl cheerfully introduced herself as Hiyori Wakasa, a jewel-powered warrior. The arrogant noble announced he was Sol Gawain Asgard, a prince blessed by gods. EUG was intimidated, wondering what kind of power the final hero possessed. The king and his advisor exchanged a puzzled look. A court official wondered aloud what the problem was. An official document showed a large error stamped over Yuge's profile. Yuge's blood ran cold as he demanded to know what was going on. He stammered that they must have observed his twin brother, not him. He held up his hand, preparing to demonstrate his meager power. A tiny flame appeared as he confessed he could only use beginner magic. The court erupted in chaos, crying out that the summoning was a failure. A chibi, EUG pointed, saying his brother was probably in that direction. A single thought echoed in the stunned silence. What is this? Prince Sol exploded with rage, calling Yuge's weakness an unpleasant insult. He declared he would not cooperate with a mistaken hero. Sol blamed the princess, Alicia, for her incompetence and the trouble she caused. The king clenched his fist in frustration and shame. The nobles whispered venomously, calling the powerless princess a disgrace. Alicia covered her face, crushed by the weight of their scorn. Tears began to fall from her eyes. She cried silently, her body trembling with humiliation. Seeing her distress, Yuge's eyes widened in shock and concern. He grit his teeth, an unspoken decision forming in his mind. Acting on pure impulse, he suddenly grabbed her hand. He pulled her along, running from the jeers of the throne room. Alicia could only cry out his name in surprise as they fled. They stopped on a quiet bridge, overlooking the grand city. Alicia thanked him for getting her out, but insisted she should be the one apologizing. She bowed her head, saying it was her fault he was dragged into this. EUG waved it off, more concerned about what would happen to him now. In the streets below, citizens gossiped about the heroes. EUG clenched his fist, wondering if he could truly rely on their protection. He realized he needed to listen to these people until he could find Rune. Alicia's voice trembled with emotion, hurt by the court's cruel words. She clutched her hands together, the memory of their scorn still fresh. She explained that this world, Crispell, has far more magical energy. Because of this, magical ability is the foundation of their entire society. Those with strong magic are given preferential treatment and can choose any job. Society is ranked from S to G, with no place for the powerless. She confessed that even in the royal family, she was an outcast. EUG realized with a shock that she was just like him. He wondered if the summoning itself wasn't a form of magic. She explained it was a miracle a one-time power granted by God. She clutched her dress, believing her own magic somehow caused the failure. It was her only chance to be useful, but she had failed. She apologized for only talking about herself, changing the subject. She then asked Eug what kind of person his famous brother was. Eug answered that, in a word, his brother was a genius. He recalled how Rune was perfect at everything, chosen for the Demon Lord subjugation team. A memory showed a younger Rune kindly helping him study. He was always gentle with him, the brother who couldn't use strong magic. And yet, Eug thought, his memory turning dark and chaotic. He remembered ignoring his brother's command to help a fallen comrade. Because of that choice, his brother was ambushed and grievously wounded. The conclusion was crushing. It was my fault. I was wrong. He thought that if he had just followed his brother's instructions. But he wondered if wanting to help a friend was really so wrong. Alicia acknowledged the tragedy, but said his comrades were not dead. She gently suggested that he should try deciding things for himself now. Eug recoiled, insisting that entrusting decisions to others was safer for him. A chibi, Eug fretted, saying his own choices only ever led to failure. Alicia reassured him that it was okay to fail and take his time. She asked a simple question he'd never considered. What do you want to do? He remembered a life of struggling for an acknowledgement that never came. The thought of having regrets was a foreign, terrifying concept. Alicia confessed that she was incredibly happy when he rescued her. She told him that his kindness was what had truly saved her. And so, she began a new resolve in her voice. Taking his hands, she asked him to follow that kind heart. The warmth of her words lingered in his mind. Alone, he stood on a rooftop, wondering what he truly wanted to do. His whole life, he had followed Rune, never needing to think for himself. But now, he thought with a growing sense of dread, I'm alone. He sadly admitted that without his brother, he felt he could do nothing. On a stone bridge, Eug questions his past choices, believing his desire to help was natural. His gloved hand clenches into a tight, trembling fist, betraying his inner turmoil. Wrong, he suddenly shouts, violently rejecting his own fleeting moment of self-assurance. He rationalizes that his brother Rune must have been right, that his every word held meaning. Stomping his foot, he concludes that acting on his own was the cause of the disaster. A pained smile crosses his face as he accepts the blame, lamenting that he made a choice at all. He trails off, a seed of doubt still lingering despite his forced conviction. Alone with his thoughts, he wonders why this self-inflicted guilt is so agonizing. Suddenly, a massive explosion rips through the city square, startling him from his thoughts. A monstrous chimera, a fusion of lion, eagle, and serpent, rises from the rubble and roars. Recognizing the beast's immense power, Eug knows he is hopelessly outmatched. He feels a familiar wave of despair, realizing he can do nothing to stop the creature. He sees the wounded civilians below, realizing how many people are caught in the chaos. A crying child makes him question if he should intervene, if he should try to help. His hand tightens as he hesitates, terrified of making another catastrophic choice on his own. Princess Alicia rushes to his side, urging him to flee to the safety of the palace. His eyes widen as he spots familiar white feathers drifting down from the sky. He follows them with his gaze to the top of a tall clock tower where a figure stands. The figure smiles warmly, extending a hand as he asks if Eug is all right. It is Rune, leaping down with a cheerful grin, proclaiming he has come to get his brother. Eug cries out his brother's name, a wave of pure relief washing over him. Overcome with emotion, he can only stammer, tears of joy welling in his eyes. He then notices his brother's left arm is a strange, dark, metallic prosthetic. He points, his voice filled with concern as he asks about the strange new limb. Rune casually dismisses his worry, just as Prince Soul lands with a sudden crash. The arrogant prince complains about having to team up with filthy demons. Soul declares that for Rune's sake, he, the great number 4, will endure it. With a dramatic leap, Soul lands atop the chimera, shattering the roof beneath him. The beast looks up, its expression one of pure, dumbfounded confusion. Soul, too, seems surprised by the outcome of his less-than-graceful landing. From the bridge, Alicia shouts in shock, asking why Rune is controlling the monster. Rune calmly explains that the Mizoku are not evil, just different from humans. He holds up his prosthetic, revealing that the Mizoku were the ones who gave it to him. He says they even lent him the Chimera so that he could find his lost brother. The nearby royal guards recoil, calling Rune a traitor and an ally of the Mizoku. Rune looks down at the guards, his face a mask of contempt for their prejudice. He tells EUG that the weak are discriminated against in this world, just as he was at home. With righteous fervor, he declares that, as a hero, he wants to save the Mizoku too. With a beatific smile, he announces his grand new purpose, to become the hero of the Mizoku. He stands proudly, ready to champion the cause of this world's outcasts. EUG is left utterly speechless, unable to comprehend what his brother is saying. His mind defaults to his old conditioning, wondering if he should simply obey. The guards begin to panic, blaming the chaos on Princess Alicia's failed summoning. Alicia bows her head, crushed by their accusations and her own feelings of inadequacy. Seeing her distress, a flicker of resolve appears in Yuge's eyes. Rune calls out to his brother, ready to bring him to his side. He puts a finger to his lips, asking EUG to listen to his request properly this time. Yuge's eye widens in terror, the chilling implication of his brother's words hitting him. He knows that if he defies his brother, something terrible might happen all over again. He feels trapped, believing he has no other option but to agree. Forcing a smile, he tells Rune that he understands, feigning compliance. But his eyes betray his true intent as he asks for a little more time. He gestures to Alicia, saying he wants to stay by her side for a while longer. The princess is completely flustered by his unexpected declaration. He promises to join Rune later, arguing he needs this time to become stronger. Rune is silent for a moment, questioning his brother's strange excuse. He explains that magic has become easier for him to use in this new world. The abundant mana here seems to be awakening a latent ability within EUG. Rune's expression darkens as he reminds EUG he forbade him from using that power. Alicia looks on, completely bewildered by the cryptic conversation. Rune sounds genuinely hurt, asking why EUG won't listen when he's so worried. In a flash, Alicia leaps forward, placing herself protectively in front of EUG. She urges him to run to the palace, insisting she can't just abandon him to this fate. This is her responsibility, she thinks, for she was the one who summoned him here. With a brave smile, she declares that she can at least buy him some time. EUG is stunned into silence by her sudden, courageous act. The guards continue their jeers, blaming the princess for the entire fiasco. Rune asks EUG why he would side with such people over his own brother. Alicia droops, feeling the weight of the impossible situation. But then she stands firm, declaring her duty as a princess is to protect her people. Staff held ready, she vows that she will protect everyone, no matter what. Rune is completely baffled by her defiance, unable to see why she opposes him. He concludes that she is the one truly throwing the world into chaos. He raises his prosthetic hand, ready to act as the one true hero. Yuge's mind is a storm, his old belief in his brother warring with his new reality. He falls back on self-blame, thinking this is all his fault for not listening. The voices of Rune and Alicia echo in his mind, one demanding obedience, the other urging choice. A moment of clarity. His fist clenches. He has made his decision. He fires his pistol, the shot exploding harmlessly against the Chimera's armored head. "Sorry, brother," he says, his voice steady, as Rune stares in disbelief. EUG stands his ground, his gun raised, his expression one of newfound resolve. From the rooftop, Rune's incredulous voice rings out, demanding an explanation. He asks why EUG attacked, reminding him that his multi-attribute magic was forbidden. He laments that Yuge's actions will get the kind princess killed. He calls Alicia a warm presence in this world, now endangered by Yuge's defiance. The situation, he concludes, has become dire because of his brother's choice. But Yuji stands firm, orbs of elemental magic swirling around him as he shouts his defiance. Tears well in Alicia's eyes as he declares his desire to become her strength. The guards can only stare in shock, wondering how he can wield so many types of magic. From above, Rune watches, convinced that this is a necessary trial to save the world. He believes Yuji is being used and will be abandoned by these people. And yet, his brother continues to fight. Yuji fires a volley of shots, creating a thick smokescreen to cover his advance. Rune is surprised, questioning if the cloud is smoke or steam. Through the haze, Yuji charges, shouting that he would rather fight than be abandoned. His voice rings with conviction as he rushes toward the monstrous beast. He unleashes a furious barrage of elemental spells, striking the chimera from all sides. His face is alight with a new purpose as he shouts his singular, powerful desire. "I want to protect," he cries, as Rune watches from above, his expression unreadable. "Stay back," Yuji warns Princess Alicia, apologizing for the danger to come. A realization dawns on him. He can now use all forms of beginner magic. The royal guards watch in shock as Yuji single-handedly battles the monstrous chimera. He recognizes this world's rich mana, but his attacks still lack the necessary power. The chimera's resilience makes him realize he cannot defeat it by himself. Princess Alicia bravely resolves to create an opening for him in the fight. Her courage reminds him that he is not fighting this battle on his own. Seizing the opportunity, he leaps into action with renewed determination and speed. Inspired by their princess, the royal guards launch a coordinated assault on the beast. Alicia watches, knowing everyone is creating the chance they desperately need to win. From his perch, Rune scolds the chimera as Yuji prepares to answer his ally's call. He senses his brother's presence, a silent question forming in his mind. He begins to weave elements together, questioning his own newfound, impossible ability. He marvels that he can combine multiple spells, a feat previously beyond him. Earth and ice coalesce before him, forming a massive, crystalline projectile of immense power. With a determined shout, he declares the fusion of his elemental magic complete. He unleashes the combined spell, a torrent of raw, elemental energy screaming forward. The crystalline spear slams into the monstrous chimera with devastating, overwhelming force. He names his new, powerful attack, the Rock Ice Cannon. The chimera roars in agony as the attack finds its mark, its power undeniable. The impact results in a colossal explosion that rocks the entire city square. The beast is completely trapped, its own flame attacks useless against the prison. Princess Alicia watches in stunned silence, realizing they are now safe. Through the settling dust, the aftermath of the powerful attack is revealed. The chimera is now a statue, completely petrified by Yuge's incredible magic. As the dust clears, Yuji stands victorious over the defeated monster. Alicia and the guard express their relief and amazement at the unexpected outcome. Rune, watching from above, decides to retreat, his plans momentarily thwarted. His brother's voice echoes, cryptically telling him that he still needs time. Rune leaves with a warning. Not everything is as it seems. With a promise of a better reunion, the mysterious figure vanishes. The immediate crisis is over, the kingdom's safe for now. Standing amidst the ruins, Yuji grapples with the uncertainty of his brother's words. He turns to Alicia and declares his new, unwavering resolve to stop Rune. He admits he doesn't know if Rune is wrong, only that his methods cause suffering. He cannot stand by and do nothing while innocent people are in danger. Hearing his heartfelt declaration, Alicia can't help but let out a soft giggle. Her praise renders him completely flustered, a comical expression on his face. With a brilliant smile, she tells him his resolve is wonderful and asks to join him. A small, genuine smile touches his lips as he accepts her partnership. Together, they take the first step on a new journey in this other world. An unseen figure offers him a choice, a path to new power. A week later, he faces judgment for his connection to the hero of the Mizoku. He is given an ultimatum: execution or fight for the kingdom's cause. The choice hangs in the air, a question that will define his future. A confident smile suggests he has already made his decision. Their new mission takes them to the dangerous, monster-infested frontier. A week has passed, his life spared in exchange for his service. They are dispatched to investigate a magical anomaly, possibly linked to his brother. Their destination lies beyond a perilous forest, now a den of monsters. A cynical official blames them for the capital's woes before abandoning them. They are unceremoniously left to fend for themselves in the dangerous woods. Alicia worries about the danger, unbefitting of her royal status. EUG resolves to work hard so he won't be a burden to the princess. He insists they take a rest, determined to look after her well-being. Their brief moment of peace is suddenly and violently interrupted. A massive, bear-like monster crashes through the trees, roaring aggressively. They are frozen in terror, confronted by the ferocious beast. Instinctively, EUG moves to protect the princess from the immediate danger. A calm voice asks if they are all right as a savior appears. Alicia recognizes their rescuer as the Holy Knight, Chris Hart Arcturus. Alicia marvels at his strength and questions his timely appearance. EUG eyes the hero warily, suspecting a more sinister motive for his arrival. Chris reassures them with a brilliant smile, saying he was simply worried. He asks to join their party, leaving both EUG and Alicia flustered. Alicia is grateful, but worries about the political implications of his help. Chris dismisses her concerns, hoping to befriend his fellow heroes. EUG is overwhelmed by Chris's perfection, comparing him to a true hero. He dismisses the idea, consumed by his own feelings of inadequacy. Chris argues that Yuge's feat against the Chimera makes him a hero. The Holy Knight takes a step, preparing to make another point. He looks back, acknowledging that EUG is capable of incredible things. EUG counters that simply having power does not make one a hero. Chris interrupts their debate, turning his attention to the princess. With a charming smile, he sweeps the surprised princess into his arms. He declares he will carry her, leaving EUG to marvel at his gallantry. As they travel, EUG anticipates that their destination is close. A break in the dense forest canopy signals their arrival. He is stunned by the sight of a colossal, unnatural crater. The trio is horrified, and Chris urges them to investigate the town immediately. A narrow panel transitions the scene to the town itself. The town's clock tower stands amidst the widespread destruction. They walk through the ruined streets, shocked by the devastation around them. The sheer number of wounded people leaves them wondering what could have happened. A townsperson recognizes the Holy Knight as he moves among the injured. Taking command, Chris prepares to use his magic to heal the wounded. He grips his sword, channeling the immense healing power within it. A brilliant flash of light erupts from his position. A wave of pure, golden light washes over all the injured townspeople. The townspeople cry out in disbelief as they are healed. EUG and Alicia are stunned by the scale of his healing magic. A healed citizen approaches Chris, her voice filled with awe and gratitude. The crowd recognizes him as the legendary Holy Knight, their savior. EUG reflects that heroes are incredible beings, no matter the world. Chris accepts their praise, his power setting him apart from ordinary people. Overwhelmed by Chris's power, Yuge's own insecurities resurface with a vengeance. Later that evening, they find lodging at the town's inn. Chris gently chides EUG for his formal and distant manner. EUG feels the gap between a true hero and himself is too vast. Chris dismisses his self-doubt, reminding EUG of his own incredible accomplishments. Chris Hart Arcturus, the Holy Knight, asks EUG what he believes a hero is. EUG suggests a hero is a chosen person with superior magical talent and character. Chris admits that while chosen by a sword, his magic rank is G, the lowest. EUG is stunned, recalling the powerful healing magic Chris had used on the town. Chris explains his magic is a unique attribute, not one of the standard elements. He demonstrates his only innate power, a weak defensive barrier around himself. EUG realizes Chris lacks the status and character he imagined a true hero possessed. Chris then reveals his past, growing up poor in an orphanage with his sister. He saw a notice offering a massive gold reward for becoming the hero. He became a hero not to save the world, but for the prize money. He challenges EUG, asking if he still considers him a hero after this confession. Chris sighs, apologizing to a silent EUG for being a bit cruel. He admits that despite his shame, being alone in this strange world is terrifying. He wants to befriend EUG, seeing that they are both in a similar situation. EUG clenches his fist, his mind racing with this new definition of a hero. He feels unworthy, having abandoned his family while Rune upheld their ideals. His head bowed, he feels he has once again made a terrible mistake. He thinks Chris is amazing for choosing to save his family over the world. He feels he has no right to be friends with Chris after his own failures. He thinks he can't accept this kindness, afraid of what might happen. He clenches his hand tightly, resolved not to make another thoughtless mistake. But he decides he cannot push away the kind hand Chris has offered him. He shyly admits he's never had a friend and doesn't know how to act. Chris beams, cheerfully insisting that EUG call him by his first name, Chris. Alicia thinks to herself that Chris is truly a sparkling, perfect hero. Alicia returns from her inquiries, asking if she missed anything important. She reports that the massive energy spike was caused by a single Mizoku. EUG realizes with a start that this is the race they're supposed to fight. Alicia adds that this Mizoku is working together with Rune and his faction. Chris wonders why a Mizoku would appear alone in a human town. Alicia, her finger to her lip, begins to recount what the townspeople saw. A Mizoku girl forced them to dig, then suddenly went on a violent rampage. Chris notes the magical energy is still strong nearby. They must find her. Alicia, looking concerned, asks if she can make just one request of them. Chris asks if she wants them to subjugate the Mizoku girl. Alicia confirms the townspeople wish for that, but she has another idea. She pleads for them to capture the girl alive to get information on Rune. Chris considers this, thinking it's better not to kill her if they can help it. EUG wonders if their opponent is truly strong enough to destroy a town. Suddenly, a massive explosion rips through the wall of the inn. Chris draws his sword, shocked by the foolishness of such a direct attack. The attacker thinks about the seeds of conflict brought from another world. The red-haired Mizoku girl screams her hatred for humans and the disaster of heroes. EUG realizes with a jolt that this must be the Mizoku girl in question. The title page shows EUG and the red-haired Mizoku girl back-to-back. EUG recognizes the device on her back as a mana amplifier from his world. The Mizoku girl screams, "Die, hero!" as she unleashes a powerful attack. A torrent of dark, swirling energy surges forward, tearing up the ground. Chris leaps into action, his sword raised to intercept the ferocious blast. His blade meets the energy, creating a bright, concussive explosion upon impact. He marvels at her power, realizing she must be a hero from another world. He shouts Yuge's name, taking command of the chaotic situation. Chris tells EUG to follow her into the West Forest, ordering Alicia to evacuate civilians. Alicia protests, wanting to help protect the townspeople herself. She knows it's impossible now, but feels she must go to help them. Her eyes are wide with fear as she thinks about what awaits in the forest. A flashback begins, showing a pillar of smoke rising from a distant village. The Mizoku girl remembers how her despair began on that terrible day. She recalls her peaceful village, home to many Mizoku who disliked fighting. For her and her people, it had been a normal, unchanging life. But despair was quietly approaching, heralded by the glint of sharpened spears. A cruel human commander gave the order to exterminate the filthy Mizoku. Her people, who already hated humans, were rounded up and captured. From then on, their lives were miserable, trapped behind cold iron bars. Sold as slaves, they were treated as nothing more than convenient human tools. She remembers the intense pain, lying bruised and shackled on the ground. In her suffering, she wondered what she had done to deserve this fate. In a twisted vision, Chris declares that humans must be wiped from the world. Back in the present, Yuji finds Chris in the forest, under heavy attack. Chris is shocked, his holy sword having been knocked from his hand. Yuji is surprised, realizing the situation is not what he had expected. He hadn't anticipated finding the evacuated children hiding in the forest. Chris explains he was ambushed while trying to protect the children. Yuji grips his gun, realizing he is now the only one who can fight. The Mizoku girl wonders if he can possibly handle her power all alone. She recognizes Yugi's distinct hair, asking if he is his younger brother. Yuji is stunned, asking if she has actually met his brother, Rune. She calls Rune a decent man, unlike the brute she sees in Yuji. A memory flashes in her mind's eye, recalling the one who offered her hope. She remembers Rune appearing just as her family was being torn apart. The flashback continues, focusing on her moment of deepest despair. Rune had told her that he understood her pain and would help save her family. He asked her to fight alongside them, offering her a path to vengeance. Rune's prosthetic hand reached out, offering her the power to achieve her goals. She believed her weakness caused the tragedy, and that power would save them. In her mind, she felt she had no other choice but to accept his offer. In the present, Chris sees her mana rising and warns it's too dangerous. Yuji realizes the source of her power is the mana amplifier's influence. He identifies the device as a piece of magi tech from his own world. Chris asks if there's a problem, noting her safety device has been removed. Yuji recalls how his comrades would loosen the safeties to boost their power, but repeated use would cause the amplifier to go beyond its control limits. It would absorb all surrounding mana and then violently explode. Chris realizes the mana-rich forest will make the explosion even larger. Yuji knows the only way is to destroy the amplifier, which will kill her. Chris grimly understands the necessity of the situation. He thinks he might be able to destroy the circuit with his holy sword. Yuji is stunned by the idea, his face a comical mask of shock. He wonders if the holy sword can really perform such a precise task. But Chris is disarmed, and Yuji knows he can't possibly do it alone. The Mizoku girl's demonic gauntlet smashes into the forest floor. She looks up in surprise as Princess Alicia charges into the clearing. Yuji cries out Alicia's name, shocked by her sudden appearance. The Mizoku girl recognizes the princess, her eyes narrowing with danger. She scoffs, calling the powerless princess an idiot for coming to help. Alicia stands firm, declaring it is her royal duty to protect her people. The girl seethes, vowing to make the princess feel her people's despair. She unleashes a storm of dark energy, mocking the useless princess. Powerless, she thinks, you can't protect anyone or change a thing. That's why, she screams, I will change with this power. No, she corrects herself. She will make the world change. Chris intercepts the attack, agreeing that power can indeed alter fate. But you, he begins, his voice laced with a hint of pity. He asks if she wanted to become just like the humans who hunted her. Shut up, she shrieks, telling him he should have just gone home. Yuji takes aim, knowing he possesses the power to change this future. He asks if the power she was given will truly save her family. Chris urges her to think carefully about what is most important to her. She hesitates in the air, whispering something like that. A sudden jolt of energy courses through her as her control slips. Damn it, so that's what this is. Alicia cries out in realization. The girl curses, realizing she's being forced into a foolish imitation. Chris shouts that she's been noticed, a target for the device's power. "Leave it to me," EUG yells, leaping forward to intervene. Chris stares in shock, recognizing his own defense magic being used. The Mizoku girl screams for them not to come any closer. Alicia grips her staff, preparing to hurl it like a javelin. She throws her staff, intending to do more than just make a simple attack. Chris deftly intercepts the staff, praising the princess for her quick thinking. The redirected force strikes the Mizoku girl, knocking her off balance. "You brute," she mutters, shocked this is happening here. The mana amplifier on her back cracks with an ominous sound. A blinding pillar of pure energy erupts from the device. The resulting shockwave sends EUG and Alicia reeling backward. "What is this?" Alicia cries, shielding her eyes from the blast. Chris turns to EUG, his expression grim, demanding to know what's happening. EUG struggles on the ground, calling out to his friends in the chaos. He looks at his hand, now covered in the same ominous, dark energy. The amplifier goes into a full rampage, consuming the girl in a vortex. Chris realizes their mana is being drained, rendering them unable to move. He knows with dawning horror that they won't make it in time. EUG watches, whispering his brother's name in anguish. He looks at his own amplifier, knowing this is the one power he shouldn't use. He activates his weapon's ultimate form, the revolver cannon. The Mizoku girl lets out a final, terrified scream. A concentrated beam of energy lances through her and the overloading device. The beam impacts the ground, containing the catastrophic explosion. Chris and Alicia can only stare, stunned into silence. The last vestiges of her power fade as her gauntlet falls from the sky. He watches her silhouette vanish, her final thoughts on her family. Alicia cries out Yuge's name, asking why he had to do it. Yuge's eye reflects the tragic scene, his mind reeling from the choice. He understands her pain. If only his brother had been there to help. He didn't want to choose, but this was the only way he could find. If only he were a true hero, he could have exceeded his limits. He collapses as Alicia screams his name. A memory surfaces of Rune explaining his custom magic bullet. He warned that the backlash from the recoil would be immense. Rune promised he could heal any wound, but EUG must never use it alone. It was all for Yuge's sake, he'd said. A promise. EUG groans, his brother's name a pained whisper as he regains consciousness. He awakens in a sick room to see Chris and a sleeping Alicia. Alicia jolts awake, her face streaked with tears of pure relief. A flashback shows a royal official lecturing them after the incident. Chris, however, had been deeply worried, bringing gifts to cheer them. Alicia had cried then, too, overwhelmed by his kindness and her worry. Back in the present, EUG apologizes for causing so much trouble. Alicia smiles brightly, telling him she's just glad he's okay. She clasps her hands together, thanking Chris for his help. She begins to explain what happened in the aftermath of the battle. EUG listens intently, his expression serious as he takes in the details. He learns the recoil destroyed his mana circuits, nearly killing him. It took Chris 3 full days of constant healing to save his life. Yuge's voice is hesitant as he asks, and that Mizoku girl, he learned she was completely annihilated by his attack, leaving nothing behind. The immense weight of his action settles upon him. That girl, he changes the subject, asking, what is that power anyway? He explains that his gun uses special bullets preloaded with powerful spells. But, he continues, the weapon generates an immense and dangerous backlash. His brother created it for him, a powerful weapon he couldn't normally wield. Chris notes the incredible drawback, the pain that comes after its use. EUG explains his brother modified his amplifier to offset the recoil. His friends listen, realizing the terrifying, double-edged power EUG commands. Alicia asks how many times he has used such a dangerous weapon. He admits he only used it when his comrades went berserk back home. At that time, both of them lost their magic, but managed to survive. Chris muses that this world's rich mana must have amplified the effect. He then asks the most important question: are there any bullets left? EUG opens a small case, revealing only 3 shots remaining. When asked if he can create more, EUG admits he doesn't know how. Chris compares his reliance on the powerful weapon to a kind of drug. Alicia agrees, saying he's too dependent on the power given by Rune. EUG tries to dismiss their concerns, but admits he has had a strange feeling. Since being separated from his brother, something has felt deeply wrong. He knows that if things continue this way, it will be bad. He looks at Chris, his eyes filled with a new, burning resolve. What's wrong? Chris asks, sensing the sudden shift in his friend. EUG has decided to stop his brother, but he must get stronger himself. He believes his beginner magic has new potential in this world. But Chris cheerfully refuses his request for training, stunning EUG into silence. Chris explains he cannot train EUG, as their fighting styles are too different. However, with a brilliant smile, he declares that he knows a good teacher. The person he introduced them to was waiting in a sunlit courtyard. A cheerful girl with twin tails, identified as another of the summoned heroes. With a radiant smile, she introduces herself as the hero Hiyori Wakasa. In a forest clearing, Hiyori asks EUG to block her attack. She leaps into the air, shouting, "Here I come," and attacks. EUG is shocked as the bullet's trajectory suddenly changes, its power increasing. He fires rapidly, creating a series of explosions to counter the powerful slash. Hiyori notes that while the power is weak, his tactics are interesting. Her eyes sparkle with delight, praising his clever use of multiple shots. "You'd be stronger if you were more adaptable," she calls out during sparring. Hiyori tells him it isn't practice if he just keeps running away. The barrage of attacks continues relentlessly. Hiyori sighs in mild exasperation. Her drone, Kanahana, states Yuge's accuracy is perfect, but his indecisiveness is a flaw. As EUG collapses, Hiyori quips that indecisive men are not very popular. She explains his role is to cover the entire battlefield with flexibility. With a confident grin, she says he just has to evade and attack. Hiyori points out that his multiple elements could create varied, unpredictable attacks. EUG realizes that combining his magic would greatly expand his strategic options. Later, EUG admits his admiration for Hiyori's strength and intelligence. Kanahana cheekily reveals her weaknesses are carrots and caterpillars, causing Hiyori to panic. Hiyori says she still needs more special training to become even stronger. She then confesses she cannot use her full power in this world. EUG is completely stunned by this shocking revelation. Kanahana confirms Hiyori is only at 60% of her true strength. EUG realizes this means his brother, Rune, is likely restricted as well. Hiyori clenches her fist, vowing to find a way to never lose someone again. She turns to EUG, asking him to join her in this search. With a bright, hopeful smile, she declares they will do it together. EUG bows deeply, accepting that he must train diligently to keep up. He looks on with a newfound sense of purpose and determination. He later finds Alicia carrying a massive stack of books, looking exhausted. The others can only watch as the princess works herself to the bone. EUG comments on the huge amount of reports she is carrying. She turns to him, vowing to do everything she can to be his strength. With a tired but resolute smile, she declares she will not lose to him. EUG watches her go, understanding that Alicia is fighting her own battle. During training, Hiyori expertly dodges Yu's volley of magical blasts. Her flower-patterned eyes widen with a sudden, worried realization. She questions why EUG is only defending and not launching any counterattacks. He shouts his plan to defend first, then focus on attacking later. Hiyori stomps her foot on the ground in clear frustration. The ground erupts around EUG as her powerful attack lands nearby. He stumbles back, confused, wondering why she attacked him like that. He thinks to himself that only defending is not a viable strategy. Hiyori, looking deeply upset, asks him why he fights that way. A close-up reveals the shock and pain reflected in her eyes. She suddenly turns and runs away, apologizing, leaving Uji bewildered. Kanahana scolds him for making a girl cry and tells him to follow. The scene focuses on the dense, quiet forest where she disappeared. Iuji stands alone, wondering what he did to upset the younger girl. Kanahana floats near the panicking Uji, preparing to explain. The drone reveals that Hiyori has always been desperate to become stronger. In a flashback, Hiyori speaks of a friend she cherished more than life. She quietly narrates that then, the tragic incident occurred. Her friend is shown impaled from behind, taking a fatal blow for her. The dying friend pleaded with Hiyori to treasure her own life. Since then, Hiyori has focused on flexibility to protect herself and others. Kanahana warns Iuji that his mid-range style has limits he must acknowledge. Hiyori gently advises him to leverage his own kindness, not just recklessness. Iuji realizes he was being too impatient in his desire for strength. Suddenly, a piercing scream echoes through the forest, interrupting their conversation. Iuji looks around in a panic, wondering what the terrible sound was. A colossal, spiky caterpillar monster crashes through the trees before them. Kanahana scans the creature, identifying it as a monster that uses magic. The monster's body crackles with a dangerous, unstable energy. It lunges forward, its strange, googly eyes fixed on its target. Kanahana issues a stark warning. Do not touch its poisonous needles. If pricked, he'll die instantly, a fact Iuji finds grimly unhelpful. Hiyori transforms into a caterpillar, but cries that she cannot touch it. As she weeps in frustration, Iuji readies his gun, knowing he must act. He grits his teeth, determined to find a way to handle this. He fires his pistol, telling himself to remember everything he has learned. He unleashes a barrage of arcing shots, forcing himself to think strategically. Hiyori shouts encouragement, telling him he absolutely cannot get hit. Kanahana marvels at his new tactic of combining free trajectory attacks. Iuji knows it's not enough. He needs more power to change the situation. Hiyori, in her monster form, frets that Iuji is in grave danger. She grips a tree trunk tightly, her mind racing with worry. She calls out, telling Iuji to retreat for now, much to his surprise. She insists she can handle it if she just calms down. Iuji is thrown back by an attack, blaming himself for getting in the way. He recalls his past failures, always rushing in alone and making things worse. Facing the colossal beast, he admits that he is weaker than Hiyori, but he declares she is a comrade he will not abandon. Hiyori is moved, realizing that together, the three of them can win. Iuji knows he cannot do this alone. Hiyori's power is essential. He looks forward with grim focus, understanding what must be done. He calls out to Kanahana, a new plan forming in his mind. Kanahana understands he needs a strategy to defeat the powerful creature. Iuji promises he will get the plan to Hiyori, trusting her completely. As the monster prepares its attack, he knows what he must do first. He unleashes a storm of dark magic, drawing the beast's full attention. He knows his shots are weak, but he can win with sheer numbers. If he runs out of bullets, he will turn its own needles against it. He magically weaves the monster's spines into a massive crystalline whip. He asks if it's ready to be defeated by its own power. With a mighty heave, he brings the enormous whip crashing down. Hiyori, in her monstrous form, faces the giant, spiky caterpillar. The beast attacks, and Hiyori's eyes widen in alarm. A volley of lethal spines shoots through the air toward her. The spines rain down as Iuji looks up, shouting a warning. He raises his pistol, crying out Hiyori's name in desperation. Hiyori's hand glows, telling her drone Kanahana that it's time. She transforms into a magical warrior, calling out to Iuji. Hiyori confirms Kanahana relayed his plan and asks if he's ready. Iuji focuses, thinking of the great power he devised to win. Together, they weave their magic into a massive, swirling vortex. He recalls their training as the monster is caught in the spell. Their integrated attack, Sakura Dragon's Roar, swirls with petals. The colossal beast is torn apart by the devastating combination. A massive explosion in the distance signals their complete victory. Hiyori cheers that they did it. Yuji smiles back, exhausted. He thanks her for coming, admitting he needed her help. Kanahana floats by his head, telling him to take something. Hiyori praises his brilliant strategy and perfect mana control. As he stammers, she says this is his unique way to fight. She asks him to continue training with her in the future. Hiyori mentions there's something else she wants to show him. She presents a data chip, analyzing his dangerous revolver cannon. He's shocked as she explains Kanahana suggested improvements. He realizes she wants to make his ultimate weapon safer to use. She explains he'll need that power if the front line ever falls. He feels pathetic, wondering how he can possibly repay her kindness. A quiet moment passes as he simply offers his thanks. With new resolve, Yuji vows that he will do his best. Hiyori smiles warmly, telling him to protect what's important. He agrees, and they begin their triumphant walk back to town. Their return is interrupted by men shouting to clear the way. Yuji and Hiyori look on, startled by the sudden commotion. They see Princess Alicia lying unconscious, and Yuji screams her name. The scene shifts to a grand castle under a full moon. Rune watches a bustling city, pleased with the Mizoku's progress. He reflects on how his power has grown far beyond his limits. He smiles, certain that he is the chosen one in this world. He knows he can save everyone, but not by working with humans. The scene shifts with a heavy, thudding sound effect. He considers his next move, his hand resting on a document. Rune concludes the rift between the two races is far too deep. He knows that something more drastic will be required. He looks at the Laurel clan crest, certain he's found the answer. A title page shows Yuji and Alicia standing back to back. 2 days have passed since Alicia collapsed at the palace. Yuji trains relentlessly, thinking of her diagnosis, exhaustion. He clenches his teeth, angry he never noticed her struggle. He feels guilty, knowing she was shouldering all their burdens. He curses his own inadequacy, feeling useless without her strength. A dark vortex erupts before him as Hiyori calls his name. He is completely startled, his face a mask of comical terror. The vortex explodes into a firework as Hiyori teases him. Her drone, Kanahana, sighs in exasperation on his head. Hiyori correctly guesses he was thinking of Alicia. He apologizes. She cheekily attributes the powerful display to the power of love. Suddenly, Hiyori remembers something incredibly important. She panics, realizing they're late for a critical royal meeting. Kanahana warns that the scary princess will be angry with them. A silent panel shows them rushing through the forest. An official thanks the attendees for gathering at the palace. Yuji and Hiyori slip into their seats just as the meeting begins. A stern official with glasses begins to deliver her report. Second Princess Rosalia notes that her dear sister Alicia is absent. Third Princess Eleanor adds that Alicia collapsed from trivial work. Rosalia laments how embarrassing it is to have an incompetent sister. Yuji glares at them, muttering an apology under his breath. The doors open, revealing Alicia, who has returned. She coldly tells Hiyori and Yuji to take their seats. Yuji wonders how she could have possibly recovered so quickly. The official continues, reporting a surge in Mizoku activity. Several towns have been attacked and are now under their control. Reports of further attacks from the remaining forces are incoming. The heroes are tasked with investigating and reclaiming the territory. The Holy Knight Chris raises his hand to ask a question. He asks if the Demon King is involved in these new attacks. The official explains the Demon God has not yet fully revived. The Demon King's retainers are uniting the scattered Mizoku tribes. Yuji is confused, as this seems to contradict his brother's goals. He wonders if the Demon King is an enemy to Rune. Prince Sol boasts that it's finally time to show their power. EUG scoffs internally at Seoul's confidence after his earlier defeat. First, Prince Theodred reminds Seoul their priority is reclamation. The political games of the royal family are about to begin. The atmosphere in the room suddenly sharpens with tension. Rosalia sweetly suggests Alicia handle the unimportant paperwork. This would involve investigating damage and handling administration. Rosalia says that, after all, there is no other choice. She declares the true royals will risk their lives in battle. She implies it's unfair for Alicia to do nothing of value. Prince Theodred tries to intervene, but Rosalia dismisses him. Alicia smiles brightly, agreeing to handle the tasks. EUG is stunned, asking why she would accept such an insult. He clenches his fist, feeling powerless to defend her honor. Hiyori sees his frustration, realizing he feels inadequate. EUG thinks that if his brother were here, none of this would happen. He stares intently, believing Alicia wouldn't have to suffer. Chris watches the tense family dynamic with a thoughtful gaze. Prince Theodred observes the scene, his expression unreadable. Hiyori gasps, shocked at the sudden turn of events. EUG slams his fist on the table in a burst of frustration. Hiyori apologizes to a dazed EG, admitting she might have used too much force trying to snap him out of it. From above, Chris notes the impressive physical force, asking if EUG is all right. A voice from the council scoffs, remarking on the discipline being shown. Prince Theodred looks on in annoyance as Alicia leans on him, dismissing EUG as a useless non-hero. With a weary sigh, Theodred declares he can't be bothered to look after them. He glances down at EG, contemptuously calling him a mere scrap of royalty. Princess Rosalia lounges, suggesting Alicia train her beast before trying to lead the people. Flustered, EUG blames himself for Alicia's predicament, but she tells him not to worry. Alicia stands tall, stating she wants to guide her people, not force their obedience. EUG reasons that with his experience fighting the Demon Lord, he can handle this mission. Rosalia says she's more concerned for herself, prompting Alicia to ask what she means. Rosalia and Eleanor bicker, trading insults about proper royal decorum and dignity. Alicia ends the argument, announcing that she and EUG are leaving the pointless discussion. Rosalia grinds her teeth in fury, muttering for them to just do their best. Outside the room, her voice echoes in frustration, cursing that woman. The grand doors of the council chamber swing shut. In a private room, Alicia apologizes for the unpleasantness, but EUG insists it was his fault. She smiles, thanking him for getting angry on her behalf, admitting it was the first time she ever talked back. EUG is left blushing and speechless by her radiant gratitude. He quickly changes the subject, asking if her eyes are okay, recalling they looked strange. Alicia confirms that nothing seems to have changed with her eyes. Faced with a mountain of paperwork, EUG wonders what his job is now. Alicia hands him a high-priority case, asking him to investigate with her tomorrow. The document shows a grand mansion that was attacked by Mizoku. EUG studies the report, puzzled as to why this case is so important. He then spots a familiar crest on the page, identical to his brother Rune's emblem. Alicia worries about the culprit returning, but EUG reassures her, accepting the mission. When she asks about his other work, he tells her not to worry. He can handle it. Alicia gently insists that he should feel free to rely on her more. She playfully asks why he's doing things the hard way when he can use magic. Confused, EUG asks what she means, and she tells him to rest for now. She turns to leave, promising to handle the documents and see him tomorrow. EUG clenches his gloved fist, confused and frustrated by her actions. Hiyori's drone, Kanahana, appears, diagnosing the situation as a serious case. Hiyori explains that Princess Alicia simply doesn't know how to rely on others. She has always had to do everything alone and is used to enduring her burdens in silence. Hiyori then points out that EUG is very similar in that regard. EUG reflects on his past, remembering he always had his older brother to lean on. He pictures Alicia, utterly alone in a world that offered her no help. He looks at the drone, desperately wondering if there's anything he can do for her. Hiyori tells him with confidence that he is the only one who can. Elsewhere, the arrogant prince Sol strolls through the city streets. Sol smirks, sensing a brewing storm and finding the entire situation fascinating. On the chapter's title page, Sol corners Alicia, demanding she become his wife. The title reads, Choice of the Mistaken Hero, Chapter 9, Alicia. EUG is utterly flabbergasted by Sol's brazen proposal in the middle of the street. Alicia immediately rejects him, leaving the prince stunned by her blunt refusal. Sol finds her rejection amusing, while she explains they barely know each other. He decides he just needs to show off his charm, pleased that he chose to come along. Sol declares he will join their mission, planning to win Alicia's heart with his power. Alicia tries to dissuade him, stating the mission is a low-risk investigation. Sol boasts that his intuition tells him the culprits will surely return. He confidently leads the way to the mansion, leaving EUG to sigh in resignation. Upon arrival, Sol looks up at the pristine building with a confused expression. He erupts in anger, demanding to know why there's no evidence of an attack. A hooded figure appears as EUG tries to calm the prince down. Sol aggressively demands an explanation, but the figure calmly notes his violent nature. The manager explains they saw a winged culprit, likely Mizoku, but Sol tells them to shut up. He insists his intuition isn't wrong and that the culprit must be hiding. Sol grabs the manager's cloak, accusing them of harboring a Mizoku. The manager looks down, utterly unimpressed by the accusation. EUG tries to intervene, realizing this is quickly getting out of hand. Sol declares this is his chance to finally show Alicia his true charm. Alicia is horrified by his idea of a charming interrogation. Sol decides the mistaken hero, EUG, can handle the boring follow-up investigation. He walks off, telling EUG to contact him when he's done with the menial task. EUG dryly notes that Sol's attempt to impress Alicia scored 0 points. The manager covers their mouth, stifling a laugh at the prince's failed attempt at charm. She pulls back her hood, revealing long, pointed elven ears and a playful smile. Both EUG and Alicia are stunned into silence by the sudden revelation. EUG stares at her ears, realizing with a jolt that she is a Mizoku. Alicia gasps, understanding the gravity of the situation. The manager's cloak falls away, revealing a surprisingly casual outfit underneath. A group of half-beast children armed with cleaning supplies rush forward to protect her. EUG and Alicia are shocked to see children of the Mizoku living here. An enraged Sol lunges forward, his patience completely gone. EUG draws his pistol, shouting for Alicia to get back as the situation explodes. The elven manager moves in a blur, stepping between the factions and telling them to stop. EUG is amazed by her speed, wondering when she even moved. A young beastkin boy glares, warning them not to reveal their secret. The manager gently calls the boy by his name, Liam. A tiny, flustered Alicia begs the manager to at least put her clothes back on. The scene cuts to a closed door as she presumably gets changed. Now properly dressed, she cheerfully reintroduces herself as the manager, Lyra Laurel. She then introduces the pouting beastkin boy as her adorable butler, Liam. EUG confirms that this is indeed the famous Laurel estate. He recalls that the Laurel clan was the family of the world's very first hero. Lyra smiles, confirming that this world, like his, had its own hero clan. EUG connects the dots. The mansion, the crest, his brother. Rune must be involved. He asks the obvious question, why are Mizoku living in the hero's house? Lyra explains with a bright smile that she is a half-breed, born of a human father and a Mizoku mother. She reveals all the children here are like her, hiding under her protection. Liam adds that Lyra took them in when they had nowhere else to go. Alicia marvels that they've managed to remain hidden for so long. Lyra holds up a beautiful, sparkling earring, revealing it as the source of their secret. She demonstrates by putting the magical earring on. Instantly, her pointed ears transform into normal human ones, much to Alicia's amazement. Lyra proudly boasts about her genius invention, which conceals their Mazoka traits. Liam approaches Alicia, addressing her formally as princess. He glares at her, warning her not to report them, as this is their only home. Alicia looks down, her expression pained, feeling that she is a burden. The group is startled by a sudden, comical interruption from the side. Liam angrily asks EUG what he's doing here, but EUG calmly replies. EUG admits that he has been curious about something for a while. He turns to Liam and asks why he is so hostile towards humans. Alicia explains the world's deep conflict between humans and Mizoku. EUG thinks the demon god's motivations sound familiar to the demon lords. He cynically muses on the true meaning of the word harmony. EUG asks what the Mizoku are, and Lyra says his guess is close. She reveals the Mizoku are a diverse race born from persecuted magic users. EUG has a sudden, shocking moment of understanding. He believes harmony is just a pretty word for humanity's fear of the unknown. The demon god, he concludes, is simply exploiting this already terrible situation. Lyra assures them they don't worship the demon god and just want peace. Alicia listens intently, her expression thoughtful and serious. She agrees to judge them by their actions, a decision Lyra happily accepts. Lyra wants to finish the investigation to build new magical tools for the children. EUG asks if she is skilled at making them, and she boasts of her genius. She leads them to an armory, admitting she can't use the hero's items herself. Alicia looks into the room, her eyes wide with awe at what she sees. The chamber is a cluttered storehouse of legendary weapons from past heroes. EUG realizes Rune must have sought something here, but he doesn't know what. He asks Lyra why the other members of her clan don't use these weapons. Lyra turns to him with a bright, cheerful smile and says they all died. She quickly adds that now that EUG is here, she is no longer alone. Lyra points out Yuge's unique red and green eyes, a trait only Laurels possess. She wonders aloud if this means EUG is a descendant of the Laurel clan. EUG admits the traits match, but he has no attribute besides his basic fire. He questions how this could be possible, given that he is from another world. Lyra pauses for a moment, a thoughtful well but on her lips. She muses that his very existence, a traveler between worlds, is a miracle. She then asks if he has decided on his magical attribute yet. Elsewhere, a child asks Liam if he didn't know heroes choose their magic. Lyra drops a bombshell. The heroes of her clan choose their own attributes. She explains they learn many beginner magics before selecting one to master. As an aside, she mentions that she chose the wind attribute for convenience. The revelation hits EG. This means he can become much, much stronger. He clenches his fist, thinking this power could help him stop Rune. Alicia watches him, her expression turning silent and deeply troubled. EUG wonders which of the powerful attributes he should choose for himself. Liam advises EUG to take his time, saying his current indecisiveness suits him. EUG is flustered by the backhanded compliment, his hand twitching in irritation. Lyra pulls him into a friendly embrace, offering to teach him other methods. He thanks her profusely, while Liam mutters jealously in the background. A quiet view shows the exterior of the grand Laurel mansion. Alicia stands alone outside the damaged building, poring over a book. Liam approaches from behind, announcing his presence with a sharp, "You're here." He looks up at the princess, his arms crossed, and asks what's wrong. The young boy bluntly asks Alicia if she dislikes EG getting stronger. Startled, Alicia quickly stammers a denial, insisting that's not at all. Liam scoffs, accusing her of being a typical human who fears change. He tells her with cold certainty that EUG will die because of her. Alicia stands frozen, wondering if she is truly holding him back. She remembers her vow to grow stronger alongside him after they first met. but she feels she hasn't changed at all, while EUG grows ever stronger. Yuge's voice cuts through her dark thoughts as he calls out her name. He returns from the armory, asking her what has happened. Alicia looks out at the sky through a hole in the roof, lost in thought. She asks him, her voice trembling, if they should stop being together. The Laurel Mansion sits peacefully in a clearing, belying the turmoil within. In the surrounding woods, a cloaked figure curses, unable to find their target. The figure wonders where their quarry is, a monstrous beast looming behind them. A title page shows Lyra winking, introducing the next chapter of the story. The next day, EUG arrives with books, completely baffled by Alicia's words. Liam sees Yuge's gloomy face and mutters a complaint under his breath. He cruelly tells the heartbroken EUG that it would be better if he just left. Lyra gently pulls the dejected EUG away, teasing that Liam made him cry. She puts a hand to her mouth, cheerfully offering to lend him an ear. EUG is too overwhelmed, his stomach churning with emotional pain. Lyra is shocked by his reaction, while Liam looks on with concern. EUG thinks the damage is worse than he expected. Liam finds him pathetic. He retreats to another room, telling them to leave him alone for a while. Outside, Lyra finds him sitting alone and asks if he's calmed down. He clutches his stomach, begging her not to laugh at his misery. He still has no idea why Alicia would say such a thing to him. Lyra suggests that the princess has likely become jealous of his growth. She asks if he has ever felt left behind by someone he was trying to help. She thinks Alicia feels this way because EUG has been so successful lately. EUG protests, insisting that all his efforts have been for her sake. Lyra watches him, her expression knowing and a little sad. She suggests that by being near him, Alicia feels like she is a burden. Lyra admits that she has felt the exact same way in her own past. She quickly changes the subject, deciding to focus on Yuge's problem instead. With a playful wink, she offers to teach him a way to get stronger. EUG recognizes the artifact she holds, seeing its resemblance to Rune's crest. Lyra introduces it as the proof of Laurel, a legendary item for the clan. Since he shares their blood, she believes he should be able to use it. EUG takes the artifact, his face flushed with hope for this new power. He sits down, holding the crest tightly, but absolutely nothing happens. He cries out in disbelief, wondering why his hero's talent isn't working. Lyra speculates that his otherworldly blood might be too potent for it. She tells him not to worry, as there is another method he can try. She raises a single, elegant finger, a small sparkle appearing at its tip. A tiny whirlwind of pure wind magic materializes above her finger. EUG is buffeted by the breeze, feeling a strange and familiar nostalgia. Suddenly, the air around Lyra fills with dozens of whirling vortexes. He is stunned by the number of spells, realizing this is her other method. Lyra explains she is using external magic from the natural atmosphere. By mixing it with her own, she can cast spells without draining her power. EUG is shocked, realizing the air is full of elemental power he cannot yet use. With a bright smile, Lyra explains that her clan can freely change their magic. She says Yuge's unique body, which lacks magical rejection, can use this ability. EUG touches his amplifier, realizing he never paid attention to his attribute. He understands the idea, but asks Lyra how he is supposed to do it. Lyra instructs him to focus magic into his eyes to see the ambient energy. With a soft whoosh, EUG concentrates, trying to follow her instructions. He mutters the words to himself, focusing all of his will into his eyes. He remains confused, still unsure of what he is meant to do. Lyra demonstrates, swirling a small ball of energy around her fingertip. EUG admits defeat, stating that he cannot see anything at all. Lyra throws her hands up dramatically, declaring it impossible for him. Yuge's face falls, believing he has finally reached his absolute limit. He despairs, knowing he cannot hope to stop his brother like this. Lyra points out the device on his neck is smoking and asks if it's okay. EUG admits he hasn't done maintenance. His brother always handled it. Lyra asks if he has a brother, and EUG confirms that he does. A proud image of Rune appears as EUG calls him his amazing older brother. Lyra's expression shifts to one of dawning realization as she gasps. She asks if his brother is the infamous hero who defected to the Mizoku. She grabs a stunned EUG, mentioning her own father married a Mizoku. She holds him from behind, a gentle and knowing smile on her face. An image of a kind boy appears as she recalls her own younger brother. She explains that her brother, a half-breed like her, was chosen as a hero. Yuge's eye widens as a new, confusing thought begins to form. Lyra somberly recalls how she and her brother were suddenly left all alone. Standing resolutely, she states her duty is to save those who are suffering. She continues, and that is why, her purpose clear. She becomes comically emotional, confusing EUG with her talk of holy maidens. Lyra warns him that the hero clan's sense of justice is dangerously strong. She tells EUG to be careful, as he is now one of them. A floating thought bubble advises that one should always communicate clearly. And besides, she exclaims, her hand gesturing for his attention. Lyra leans in close, teasing that she will steal the princess from him. She declares that the princess adores her, much to Yuge's utter disbelief. The scene transitions away from the forest. Their conversation fades into the background. Inside the mansion library, Alicia sighs, staring at empty shelves. She regrets her harsh words to EUG and resolves to apologize properly. A small girl calls out to Liam, startling a shocked Alicia. The girl approaches Alicia directly, wanting to ask her a question. The young half-Mizoku asks if she can attend a human school. Alicia is stunned, learning that half-breeds are barred from normal schools. She realizes she has never considered the prejudice faced by half-Mizoku. Liam scoffs from across the room, calling the girl's dream impossible. Alicia looks on, taken aback by his sharp words. Liam explains that Lyra is special, unlike ordinary people like themselves. He declares that they must become strong on their own, leaving Alicia thoughtful. Her heart pounds, thinking how heroes easily sacrifice themselves for others. The children recall how Lyra's hobbies were always for their benefit. They understand that what she does is no different from being a hero. A girl vows to protect herself, so Lyra won't have to push herself. The other children want to become doctors and assistants to help Lyra. Alicia is moved by their resolve, but feels she can do nothing to help. Liam tells her not to worry, acknowledging her difficult position. He says that being a princess who listens to them is more than enough. Alicia agrees, but knows she must do more to stop Rune. A child mentions that unreliable brother, referring to EUG. Alicia quietly tells the child to be careful with their words. The child compares heroes to the reckless boars Lyra spoke of. They remember her warning that heroes rush in and endanger everyone. Another child asks if EUG is the same as Lyra's brother. They suggest that as a princess, Alicia should be able to help him. The children playfully tease her, saying she clearly loves that brother. Alicia blushes furiously, feeling like a loyal and patient puppy. A girl asks Alicia to use her influence to help them get a school. Alicia humbly asks if she is worthy, and the children insist she is. Liam tells everyone that they must now rely on the princess's help. Alicia is moved, realizing she's the only one who truly listens to them. Suddenly, a massive explosion rips through the side of the mansion. A massive, clawed foot slams down into the newly formed rubble. The Chimera has returned, its sudden appearance shocking everyone inside. Alicia and the children stand frozen before the monstrous beast. She spots a cloaked figure on its back, realizing it's a Mizoku. The figure attacks, a blast of energy striking the floor before them. Alicia's protective instincts flare. She must save these children. Liam, wearing his battle mask, leaps into action to intercept the monster. Alicia cries out his name as he dashes bravely into the fray. Liam screams at the attacker, telling them to take their people and leave. He lands a blow, cracking the wall behind the cloaked figure. Thorny vines erupt from the ground, brutally impaling the young warrior. The figure sneers, telling the half-breed not to interfere. The attacker covers their face, expressing disgust at the human presence. They complain that the place stinks of humans and want to leave quickly. Lyra appears in a flash, kicking the chimera with righteous fury. She warns the attacker not to destroy any more of the hero's items. She pouts, declaring that she's the one who will get angry now. EUG arrives, checking on Alicia, who calls out his name in relief. In the background, Lyra continues her fierce battle with the attacker. She shouts that she will handle the cloaked figure herself. The figure watches as Lyra moves to engage the Mizoku directly. Lyra tells EUG to take care of the chimera for her. EUG stares in shock, realizing the monster is far more dangerous now. Liam, struggling, confirms that the beast has been dangerously improved. He yells at EUG not to let Lyra fight her battle alone. Liam screams at EUG to take the others and flee immediately. He cruelly calls the powerless Alicia a hindrance and an obstacle. Alicia clenches her fist tightly, wounded by the truth in his words. She turns to EUG, agreeing that Liam is right about her. EUG calls her name as she turns to lead the children away. Alicia thinks she can only run, a useless burden in this desperate fight. Princess Alicia looks on with a deeply worried expression, her thoughts troubled. She openly wonders if she can truly be of any use on the battlefield. She knows her place is not on the front lines with the heroes. Her true duty is to listen to the will of her people. Still, her heart is filled with concern for her friend, EUG. Despite her doubts, a surge of determination courses through her. EUG is distracted, calling out to Alicia, but Liam tells him to focus. The monstrous chimera roars, and EUG knows they must resolve this now. He had help before, but now questions if he and Liam can succeed alone. The beast's massive clawed foot slams into the ground with terrifying force. Thorny vines erupt from the earth, forcing EUG and Liam to dodge. EUG realizes with alarm that the chimera's attacks have grown more complex. Liam dashes forward, noting the beast is just a puppet, albeit a menacing one. How can simple magic create such an overwhelming difference in power? EUG wonders. He grits his teeth, knowing he cannot defeat this monster as he is. A sinister black mist begins to emanate from the chimera's monstrous form. Liam suddenly calls out, sensing a new presence approaching from behind them. Yuge's eyes widen in shock as he sees the strange black energy. The psychic attack hits, and Alicia and the children cry out in pain. Liam grits his teeth, fighting against the debilitating magical pressure. Another of the half-Mizoku children winces, overwhelmed by the unseen force. Liam feels his body grow heavy as a splitting headache assaults his senses. EUG clutches his head as a voice whispers that this is all his fault. He recognizes his brother's voice, wondering if it is just an illusion. The vision of Rune blames Yuge's defiance for the loss of his arm. The painful memory flashes through Yuge's mind, his eye wide with horror. Rune leans in close, his voice a poisonous whisper of everything he's done for EUG. His hand covers the lens of Yuge's amplifier, chiding him for not listening. A twisted version of EUG suggests that he is in need of re-education. The psychic assault intensifies, and EUG collapses. Liam cries out in alarm. The chimera's tail whips forward, its venomous stinger aimed at a new target. EUG sees the attack and screams Liam's name in a desperate warning. The stinger flashes through the air, too fast to be stopped. It strikes its target with a sickening impact, drawing blood. Liam is thrown against a wall, grievously wounded by the venomous blow. EUG can only stare in disbelief, hand over his mouth, whispering, "What is this?" From the forest, Alicia senses the attack, wondering what just happened. She rushes to the other children, anxiously asking if they are all right. Suddenly, she feels her own body grow heavy, her magic being drained away. She is strangely immune, but fears this is what is happening to EUG. One of the small children looks up, urging her to go to him. "Go, princess," the child insists, much to Alicia's surprise. She hesitates to leave, but they insist they are fine and need her to help EUG. With renewed purpose, Alicia dashes towards the heart of the chaos. EUG is helpless on the ground, not understanding what is happening to him. Lyra appears beside a worried Alicia, asking what is going on. Alicia, her face a mask of terror, struggles to explain the situation. Lyra and another elf child look on, remarking on the terrifying black energy. A sharp cry of alarm cuts through the air. Alicia has broken away, running toward the danger. "Princess!" Lyra shouts, watching her charge headlong into the fray. Liam angrily yells at EUG for the destruction, then apologizes for his outburst. He turns away, telling EUG to be more careful next time. EUG stares at his own hand, wondering why he cannot control his magic. He fears the black mist is to blame, and that his next shot will hit Liam. Kneeling in the dirt, he is lost, unable to comprehend the cause of this. His eyes consumed by shadow as he despairs, not knowing what to do. The lens of his amplifier is cracked. He knows he cannot do this alone. Lyra watches from aside as EUG prepares to face the chimera. Liam is suddenly thrown backwards by an invisible force, crying out in shock. EUG looks on, his face a mask of utter horror and surprise. An ethereal voice, soft and familiar, echoes in his mind, telling him not to be afraid. A vision of Rune appears, calling the dark power a gift only EUG can use. As EUG writhes in agony, Rune's voice promises him a new future. Yuge's hand instinctively reaches for the amplifier on his chest. He clutches his head, his mind reeling from his brother's psychic assault. Looking up, he sees Alicia running toward him, wondering why she is there. Alicia dashes forward, calling his name, her face filled with desperate resolve. Lyra watches her go, noting the determined look on the princess's face. The cloaked figure suddenly dashes past Lyra, intent on his own goal. He launches a surprise attack, but Lyra deftly dodges the powerful blow. The figure taunts her, asking where her earlier bravado has gone. Lyra lets out a bored sigh, completely unimpressed by his display of power. He lifts a massive stone pillar, calling her nothing more than a brute. Lyra blocks with her sword, retorting that he is the one who is a brute. And besides, she adds, a playful glint in her eye. With a cheerful wink, she jokes that being a bit heavy can't be helped. Enraged, the figure calls her a mere half-breed. He lunges again, screaming at her not to mock him. Lyra is caught off guard. She slips behind him, teasing that he can't hope to beat a real Mizoku. He complains that it hurts, demanding to know where it is. He grabs her, ordering her to hand over the hero's item he senses. Lyra looks away coyly, claiming that she is unable to use it. She feigns a realization, suggesting he's reacting to her new prototype. She muses that if even normal people could use it, it would be a success. She flashes a peace sign, offering to mass-produce it for a huge profit. The figure roars in frustration, demanding that she explain what she is talking about. He grabs her again, telling her to stop messing around and hand it all over. Lyra's expression turns deadly serious as she asks about the children's safety. Suddenly, magical chains erupt from the ground, ensnaring the cloaked figure. He struggles against his bonds, demanding to know what they are. Lyra reveals she only intended to drive him away from the mansion. But her gaze hardens. If he dares to harm the children, she will personally see him to the human gallows. He winces in pain. Her ruse complete, she smiles and turns to check on the others. A light clone of her vanishes from the rooftop, the diversion successful. EUG sees Alicia running towards him and calls out her name in alarm. She grabs his hand, ignoring the corrupting black mist swirling around it. He screams for her to let go, that his amplifier is broken and his hand is not his own. Alicia looks down, her eyes widening as she sees the strange device. Amplifier? Liam grabs Alicia, demanding to know what she is doing standing there. The Chimera's master wonders aloud why the heroes have suddenly stopped moving. Alicia stares in fear, whispering about the sight of that terrible black magic. She apologizes for leaving the others, but Lyra calmly reassures her. Liam asks Lyra about the strange mist and pressure emanating from EG. Lyra looks on with concern, beginning her explanation of the phenomenon. She realizes with horror that Lord Yu's magical power is running wild. EUG insists he hasn't tampered with the safety device on his amplifier. Lyra points out that the device around his neck is clearly reacting. She theorizes the cracked amplifier is the cause and tells him to take it off. As he reaches for it, a violent surge of dark energy shocks him. Liam sighs that it can't be helped, asking if EUG is all right. He too is repelled by a painful shock, crying out in surprise. Liam realizes Alicia can touch the corrupting magic that repels them. Alicia rushes to EUG as he collapses, calling his name in alarm. EUG stares at his hand, feeling the black mist invading his very being. Liam bravely holds off the Chimera, entrusting EUG to the princess. EUG screams for her to stop, begging her not to say such things. She tearfully remembers he was the first to want to be her strength. She confesses her jealousy and shame over the cruel things she said. She reaches out, feeling that such an act cannot possibly be forgiven. But she grabs his hand anyway, ignoring the dark, corrupting mist. He warns her to stop, feeling his magical power surging uncontrollably. Alicia declares she also wants to be his strength and try harder. She wants to face Rune together, leaving EUG stunned by her resolve. As she vows not to give up, the amplifier's lens finally shatters. A brilliant light erupts as she screams that she will not give up. Liam recoils in shock, demanding to know what is happening. Alicia cries out as the purifying light bursts forth from her. A close-up shows the black mist completely vanishing from the device. Yu's eye is shown, clear and focused, as he realizes something new. The corruption becomes sparkling light, and he wonders what it is. The Chimera attacks, but EUG effortlessly channels his power into a blast. He gathers ambient elemental energy, focusing it through his pistol. A massive beam of pure energy erupts from his gun barrel. The monstrous Chimera is thrown back by the overwhelming magical force. Alicia is stunned by his power and vastly increased casting speed. The attacker is shocked that EUG can now suddenly see magical power. EUG turns his head, looking down toward a surprised Alicia. He confesses he always wanted to stand beside the person he admires. Alicia is left speechless and blushing by his heartfelt confession. He smiles gently, realizing they were both thinking the same thing. The Chimera recovers and unleashes a desperate volley of energy blasts. Alicia calls out his name as they stand together on the battlefield. He thinks to himself that he should have listened to Lyra sooner. He stands amidst swirling crystals, declaring the integration of magic complete. He unleashes his ultimate attack, a devastating rock ice slaying. The attack slams into the Chimera, causing a massive explosion. As the smoke clears from the battlefield, all that remains is a crater. Liam stares in utter disbelief at the incredible power he just witnessed. He sees Lyra, who casually states that her battle is over too. Lyra stretches calmly as EUG and the children rush to her side. She explains she won after the attacker let his guard down. EUG wonders what his objective was, while Liam fumes about his home. EUG realizes with a jolt that the attacker's target was the proof of Laurel. He concludes that if a hero's item was the goal, Rune is involved. Alicia turns her attention from the battle to the injured Liam. Lyra playfully tells Alicia not to be so formal with him. Liam worries that Lyra might be lost again because of the kingdom. Alicia and Lyra understand his concern comes from love for family. Alicia apologizes for being helpless, but Lyra tells her not to coddle him. Alicia sincerely thanks Liam, who in turn thanks her as well. Liam gets flustered, insisting he didn't do it for her sake. Alicia's eye widens in surprise as she notices something nearby. The other orphaned children emerge from their hiding place in the woods. The children joyfully flock around Lyra, relieved that she is safe. EUG and Alicia watch the heartwarming reunion with gentle smiles. EUG turns to Alicia, saying he has understood something important now. He admits his fear of Rune's rejection caused him to stop communicating. He clenches his fist, realizing he has to speak his mind properly. He smiles, vowing that from now on, he will put his feelings into words. He tells Alicia to let him know if she ever needs anything. Alicia is touched, though she shyly says she might get angry. She gives him a radiant smile, offering her heartfelt thanks. They ponder the white light, suspecting it is one of Rune's schemes. EUG worries that if the proof of Laurel falls into Rune's hands, Lyra suddenly appears, saying she has something that might help. She proudly presents a small vial containing a piece for research. Alicia and Liam are horrified that she scraped off a piece. Alicia cries that it's a national treasure, but Lyra dismisses it. Far away, within a grand and shadowed building, a plot unfolds. A gloved hand holds the true proof of the hero aloft. Rune muses that only one condition remains to achieve his goal. He looks out the window, stating that now he only needs to wait. He wonders what his next move against that girl will be. A view of the grand royal palace under a cloudy sky. In her room, Alicia carefully handles a small bottle of potion. She looks up with quiet determination, her work now complete. EUG enters a shop, wondering if he will be with Alicia today. He examines a component, wondering if it's the correct piece. Several days later, he searches for parts for the broken amplifier. Alicia complains about the flawed schematics, needing more parts. And so, he is coming to town for a day of shopping. Alicia, in disguise, arrives and apologizes for being late from work. EUG is stunned by her hair, which she explains is transformation magic. He flusters, saying it looks great, and she happily thanks him. Alicia is thrilled to walk around freely without being recognized. EUG watches her with a look of gentle understanding and empathy. He reflects on how harsh this world is for the powerless. His gaze softens, showing a deep understanding of her past struggles. EUG noticed Princess Alicia's hands were carefully wrapped in fresh white bandages. He worriedly asked what happened, as magic should have healed her last wound. She explained she was hurt while studying, much to his astonished concern. He forbade her from overworking, promising to take her somewhere nice as a break. A radiant, grateful smile bloomed across her face as she softly thanked him. Struck with despair, EUG wondered how much more they still needed to buy. Alicia noted the daunting length of their list of required magical components. He felt down about his own lack of progress, but she told him not to worry. Alicia cleverly suggested a location where they could purchase everything at once. He felt useless despite her help, wishing he could be the one taking charge. They continued their journey through the bustling streets of the capital's castle town. He remarked on the town's lively air, wondering if the people knew of the danger. The castle town was well protected by formidable walls and the kingdom's elite knights. They both felt the people's sense of security had made them dangerously complacent. Alicia turned to him, her expression concerned, and asked if his body had recovered. He explained that the mysterious black magic had not reappeared since the battle. Though he didn't understand it, he could now sense magical energy much more clearly. He pondered if there was a secret to that dark power he'd experienced. Or perhaps, he thought, his brother had a completely different objective in mind. Alicia leaned in, preparing to share a thought she couldn't say too loudly. She wondered if Rune was actually right and their own perspective was mistaken. EUG admitted that he had been thinking the very same thing himself. Still, he found his brother's extreme methods to be more than a little frightening. As a young boy rushed past them, he suddenly cried out in surprise. EUG panicked, realizing their day off was once again turning back to work. He resolved that today would not be for dark topics and grim conversations. Reacting in a flash, Alicia pushed the stumbling boy clear of the fountain. A massive splash erupted as she took the fall herself, landing in the water. Eug and the boy cried out in alarm, shouting her name in unison. He rushed to the fountain's edge, anxiously asking if she was all right. The young boy stared, his face a mixture of shock and a sudden blush. Soaked but smiling, Alicia insisted she was fine, asking if everyone else was safe. Both Eug and the boy let out a simultaneous scream of pure, comical panic. He quickly offered his cloak to her, insisting she wear it once she got out. Their unexpected detour led them to the front of a fashionable clothing boutique. Alicia stood shyly, modeling a stylish new ruffled blouse and black skirt. The shopkeeper showered her with compliments, saying the new clothes suited her perfectly. The shopkeeper playfully teased Eug, asking if he had a fondness for bare legs. As they left the shop, they offered their sincere thanks for the help. Hiyori, the boy's sister, apologized for all the trouble he had caused them. Eug insisted she not worry, admitting it was nice to see a different side of Alicia. Having finished their shopping, he suggested they finally find a place to rest. He noticed Alicia's face was bright red and worried she might have a fever. Hiyori cheerfully produced a list of outing recommendations from Lyra and Kanahana. A powerful, sinking feeling of dread washed over Eug as he saw the list. The list was a princess date plan, filled with absurd and inappropriate suggestions. He warned Alicia to ignore their friend's terrible advice and suggested a nearby cafe. Alicia, still flustered from the day's events, meekly agreed to his suggestion. They soon arrived at the entrance of the quiet and charming little cafe. A magnificent plate bearing a tall stack of fluffy pancakes was placed before them. Alicia was in awe, having never seen such a luxurious dessert in her life. Alicia saw no reason why she shouldn't enjoy food made by her own people. She asked if Eug often spent his days off in places such as this. He explained his days were usually spent helping his brother with his various hobbies. Hiyori teased him for being a workaholic, then asked Alicia about her own desires. Alicia confessed she'd never considered it, having focused only on earning her family's approval. Eug watched her, his expression softening with a newfound understanding and concern. Alicia then mentioned there was another place she was hoping they could visit. Her request led them to a grand library filled with towering, ornate bookshelves. She wanted to find books on commoner life, subjects absent from the royal library. The book was a history of local properties, a glimpse into an ordinary world. Eug watched her browse, thinking to himself that there was no need to hurry. Suddenly, his eyes widened as he spotted a familiar-looking cookbook in her hands. The book was titled First Time Making Sweets, adorned with colorful desserts. He connected the book to her bandaged fingers, but she quickly denied it. She confessed she wanted to learn about sweets after seeing how happy they made people. It reminded him of how his comrades from home missed their native cuisine. A warm, understanding smile spread across his face as he looked at her. He told her it sounded interesting and that he wanted to learn with her. He then suggested that perhaps they could try making some sweets together sometime. Her face lit up with pure joy, and she eagerly accepted his offer. He picked up a cookbook, suggesting one that looked suitable for beginners. They left the library with a newly purchased stack of cookbooks for their project. As they walked, Alicia asked him what they should do with the rest of their day. Just as he was about to answer, something off to the side caught his eye. It was a large poster advertising a public exhibition of the first hero's ruins. They stared at the poster, intrigued by the unexpected discovery of the hero's ruins. Having seen the poster before, Eug had decided to return to investigate the ruins. Their exploration was cut short by the sudden, angry arrival of Prince Sol. Alicia tried to explain it was an inspection, but Sol was already furious. The trio stood together, an unlikely party brought together by fate and circumstance. Inside, they found themselves in a vast hall with towering columns and inscribed walls. A guide explained the ancient texts told the stories of all the past heroes. The ruins themselves, Eug realized, were a history book written in ancient script. He knew he had to understand the meaning of hero in this world. His brother had always been obsessed with the title and the Laurel clan's artifacts. He hoped that by understanding the hero, he could finally understand his brother's goal. Sol impatiently demanded they finish quickly so he could take Alicia on a date. EUG wondered what Sol's true purpose was for coming to this historic place. Sol declared he would never allow EUG and Alicia to be alone together. He ranted about hearing they were on a date, finding it incredibly audacious. He accused EUG of carrying date supplies, ordering him to carry his own bag. Alicia tried to speak up, hoping to de-escalate the prince's jealous outburst. She apologized for the commotion and offered to help with their research here. EUG reassured her, saying he was strong enough now to carry heavy loads easily. He admitted that this strange situation felt oddly familiar and almost nostalgic. It reminded him of being the designated errand boy for his old party members. Alicia snapped at Sol, demanding to know what he thought he was doing. Sol impatiently ordered the guide to hurry up with the explanation. The guide spoke of the first hero's justice, but hinted at a darker turn. EUG questions if the first hero is missing, as Prince Sol complains about old news. A researcher excitedly reports his major discovery. There were originally two first heroes. Alicia is perplexed, wondering why such vital information was never passed down through history. EUG somberly suggests that the existence of the second hero was deliberately erased. A single thought bubble appears, hinting at a dawning, unspoken suspicion. Sol casually wonders if his own ancestor was the hero who was erased. In a chibi-style aside, Sol jokes that Yuge's ancestor must have run away. EUG recalls that the first hero was from this world, asking when summoning began. A mural shows a goddess granting the royal family the power to summon heroes. EUG realizes the summoning must have started recently, after the hero's clan declined. The ancient text proves too difficult to decipher, bringing their investigation to a halt. EUG sighs in disappointment, having found no clues to his brother's true motives. A bored Sol throws his hands up, impatiently asking if their work is done yet. Alicia reaches out, saying it's about time they moved on. As her hand touches a crest, the wall rumbles and a section slides open. EUG is shocked by the hidden passage, while Sol praises Alicia for surprising him. Sol declares an adventure and rushes in, EUG telling him to wait. The group descends a winding stone staircase into the darkness below. EUG asks Alicia why Sol is so incredibly persistent in his pursuit of her. Overhearing him, Sol snaps at EUG for speaking so casually about him. Sol decides it's finally time to explain his motivations to them. He proudly lists his virtues: handsome, talented, intelligent, and a wealthy prince. The one thing this perfect man has never obtained, he shouts, is a bride. He complains that all the women who approach him are shallow and lack spirit. It was in this state of disillusionment he recalls that he first met Alicia. He praises her dignity and supportive nature, calling her his ideal princess. As Sol vows to propose after the war, EUG calls out to get his attention. They emerge from the staircase into a wide, open chamber. Alicia senses something important, but Sol dismisses the lone sword as tasteless. EUG is taken aback by Sol's odd complaint about the sword's taste. He examines a scroll, recognizing the script as similar to one from his world. Sol aggressively orders the mistaken hero to translate the text immediately. He beams with excitement, certain that it will now be deciphered. He asks Alicia to help, needing her knowledge of this world's vocabulary. A chibi Sol tells EUG not to interrupt his private time with the princess. The camera focuses on the top of Sol's head as he concentrates on the scroll. Sol is impressed by how quickly Alicia begins translating the ancient text. EUG thinks back to an earlier conversation, feeling a sense of regret. He stands with his back to the viewer, gazing up at two massive portraits. Looking closer, he wonders if the figures depicted are the first heroes. He is shocked to see they have his face and eyes, asking if they are twins. He notes that the only difference between them is their hair color. Holding the scroll, he wonders if these people are his ancestors. Suddenly, a massive, intricate magic circle erupts on the floor beneath him. Alicia cries out in alarm, asking if everyone is all right. Sol angrily tells her not to set off traps by herself. He looks at the glowing scroll, identifying it as a message from the first heroes. The text begins to glow, announcing a message meant for their descendants. A vision shows the twin heroes, who chose their magic to bring peace to the world. But tragedy struck when one hero's beloved was murdered, staining his heart with hatred. The bereaved hero unleashed a black mist, revived the demon king, and opposed humanity. The vision ends, revealing this tragic event as the origin of the demon god. Alicia covers her mouth in horror, realizing the first hero became the demon god. Sol smirks, saying that this confirms the reports he has been hearing. EUG looks on in confusion, not understanding what Sol is implying. Sol recalls EUG emitting a black mist and his eyes changing color at the mansion. He points an accusatory finger, asking EUG if he is the demon god. Alicia leaps to Yug's defense, insisting that he is perfectly normal now. She declares that it is impossible for Sir EUG to be the demon god. Sol retorts that if it is true, she will be punished for summoning him. He raises his massive warhammer, declaring that he will prove his theory. With a tremendous crash, he smashes the stone floor with his weapon. Alicia is sent flying by the shockwave as Sol shouts that this is enough proof. He swings his hammer again in a wide, destructive arc. EUG looks up from the rubble, stunned by Sol's sudden, violent attack. Sol laughs maniacally, certain his reasoning is correct and that Alicia will be his. He tells EUG he has now figured out both his and his brother's true objectives. He points at EUG, stating that Rune knew he would become the demon god. EUG realizes with a dawning horror that this is why his brother defected. Sol dismisses Alicia's pleas, blaming her for the entire situation. EUG calls out Alicia's name, his expression filled with concern. Sol presents Alicia with an ultimatum. Choose between the country and EUG. He tells EUG that Alicia is wasting her concern on him. He sneers that EUG simply doesn't have a value to warrant such attention. EUG thinks to himself that Sol's harsh judgment is probably correct. Alicia calls out to EUG as he clenches his fist, uncertain of what to do. He smiles sadly, thinking he cannot cause any more trouble for Alicia or Rune. Alicia gasps, shocked by his apparent resignation to his fate. Sol moves in a blur, preparing to deliver another powerful blow. The ground cracks and splinters under the immense force of his attack. He leaps through the air, telling EUG to brace himself for the end. He swings his hammer in a devastating, circular motion, shattering more of the floor. His expression is one of grim determination as he brings his attack down. EUG stands his ground, raising his pistol to defend himself from the assault. Alicia screams at Sol to put down his weapon, but her words fall on deaf ears. She cries out that Sir EUG is still her hero, her faith unwavering. EUG looks over at her, his expression softening at her heartfelt declaration. Sol's hammer comes crashing down in a powerful, earth-shattering blow. He tells EUG to simply disappear and make things easy. He declares that he will be the one to become Alicia's hero. EUG is stunned by Sol's insane logic, demanding to know what he's talking about. A massive explosion erupts at the point of impact, shrouding the scene in dust. Sol looks up, surprised by a sudden movement from above. Alicia also looks up, calling out Yug's name in concern. A quiet sound effect suggests a weary sigh of resignation. The cloaked figure lands, blocking Sol's attack and mocking his need for help. Sol asks the figure if he can really afford to be so relaxed. A deep, rumbling sound begins to shake the entire chamber. Startled, Sol looks around, wondering what that sound is. The cloaked figure begins to flee as Sol shouts, demanding to know if he's running. A royal guard rushes forward, his voice a frantic cry for Princess Alicia. He breathlessly tells her she must return to the royal castle immediately. Alicia's eyes widen in alarm as she asks what has happened to the capital. The horrifying news is delivered. The royal capital is under attack by the Mizoku. The city is shown in chaos, swarmed by monstrous beasts and winged demons. A pained groan echoes through a lavishly decorated room. EUG awakens on the floor, disoriented, wondering where he could possibly be. A calm, familiar voice startles him, remarking that it has been a while. He looks up to see his brother, Rune, who smiles and speaks his name. EUG cries out in disbelief, realizing he has been taken to Mizoka territory. The shock of the impossible reunion is etched across his face. Overwhelmed by the stress of it all, he collapses, clutching his stomach in pain. A box of stomach medicine sits on a nearby table. Rune calmly states that EUG has learned the secret of the heroes. The grim truth sinks in. If this continues, he is destined to become a demon god. He clenches his fist, steeling himself against the terrifying realization. He then asks his brother why he has been brought to this place. Rune declares that it is finally time for EUG to hear his answer. He sets down his teacup, preparing to reveal the full truth. He confesses a staggering fact. He arrived in this world 1 month before EUG. A bug in the summoning ritual caused him to fall, near death, into this land. The Mizoku who found him quickly realized he was a hero from another world. He explains that despite his injuries, the Mizoku treated him with kindness and saved him. While recovering, he researched constantly, hoping to find a way to repay them. He was stunned to discover that the demon god was their ancestor, the first hero. Rune leans in, his eyes intense, revealing that the demon god is still alive. Past heroes could only seal the entity, which revives in an endless, tragic cycle. EUG demands to know why Alicia is ignorant of this critical piece of history. Rune asks if EUG knows the true reason the first hero turned against his own kind. He explains that the person the hero loved was tragically murdered. EUG is shocked to learn it was by the royal family of the Kingdom of Light. The hero's lover was a Mizoku, but he was forced into a political marriage. Driven by grief, the hero sought to destroy humanity for what they had done. Rune explains the kingdom intentionally erased the inconvenient history of the first hero. He admits sympathy for the hero, but claims the Mizoku also desire freedom. EUG, with a hand to his heart, suggests they should all be working together. Rune recalls saving his brother, twisting his defection into an act of destiny. He continues, his tone shifting to one of dramatic, theatrical revelation. With a flourish, he reveals a glowing potion to prevent becoming a demon god. He proudly states he perfected an ancient, unfinished formula created by the elves. The weight of his perceived failures crushes EG, filling him with profound guilt. He clenches his fist, wondering why Rune would help after his supposed betrayal. Rune dismisses his concern, insisting that helping his brother is only natural. In the Grand Room, Rune tells EUG not to worry, admitting his own faults. He repeats his apology, a calculated move designed to disarm his younger brother. He claims his intense focus on the demon lord made him neglect those around him. His prosthetic hand begins to glow as he vows not to repeat his mistakes. He extends his hand, asking his shocked brother to fight alongside him once more. For a fleeting moment, EUG is ready to accept to fall back into old habits. But a vision of Alicia's bright, determined smile cuts through his hesitation. He snaps back to reality, confused by his own momentary lapse in judgment. Rune's eye narrows with cold understanding. He knows who broke his spell. He accuses EUG of thinking of the princess, coldly noting how he has changed. He fumes that Alicia has ruined the years of education he gave his brother. He commands EUG to stay away from the princess for his own good. Strong emotions, he explains, will turn EUG into the world's second demon god. EUG fidgets, completely overwhelmed by the depth of his brother's twisted logic. Rune feigns sympathy, acknowledging Alicia's importance while tightening his trap. He then reveals a massive crystal ball, declaring that their time is now up. EUG stares at the orb, completely unaware of the horror it is about to show. His eye widens in absolute shock as the image within the crystal becomes clear. The orb reveals a real-time feed of the capital besieged by a Mizoku army. EUG screams, demanding to know why the Mizoku are attacking the capital city. He clenches his fist, a horrifying realization beginning to dawn on his face. The smooth, cold surface of the crystal ball reflects the unfolding chaos. He looks up, his voice a whisper, asking if this is his brother's doing. A chilling, knowing smirk played across Rune's face as he began his explanation. He claimed the human struck first, killing his peace envoy without any question. He dismissed the Mizoku's rage, telling a frantic EUG it was no problem. With a brilliant smile, he declared that everyone would surely listen to his words. The pressure of his brother's presence made Yuge's head spin with familiar dizziness. Yuge's eyes widened in horror, realizing his brother's arm was no ordinary prosthetic. Rune cheerfully revealed he had repurposed the arm of the defeated Demon Lord. The Mizoku's advanced medicine, born of their diversity, made the unholy graft possible. He spoke of his research into monster hybridization and the bestowal of new attributes. EUG whispered in disbelief, asking why his brother would go to such extremes. Rune declared this new strength was absolutely necessary for him to act as a hero. He boasted that because of this, he could now wield many different kinds of powers. Yuge's hand clenched. He realized Alicia was now in grave danger from this power. He saw the capital burning, wondering what he could possibly do to help them. He feared that becoming a demon god would only endanger Alicia and his friends. Rune stood with absolute confidence, reassuring EUG that his grand plan was perfect. He told his younger brother to simply stay here and watch from the sidelines. Rune promised to show him the true form of a hero guiding this world. But as his brother turned his back, EUG raised his pistol with deadly intent. His face was a mask of pained resolve, his difficult choice now finally made. Rune turned, his expression hardening as he asked what EUG meant by this defiance. He argued his actions were necessary to prevent more victims in the long run. Feigning innocence, he wondered if he had said something wrong to be treated so. EUG knew his brother's methods were wrong. It was domination, not true guidance. Leveling his pistol, EUG declared that he would stop him right here and now. Rune laughed, warning that his emotions would only fuel the demon god's power. EUG glared back defiantly, challenging his brother's warning with a single question. He knew that becoming a demon god wouldn't automatically make him their enemy. He argued that heroes and the demon god ultimately share the same root power. He reasoned that if he could save everyone by embracing that terrible power, then he didn't care if he had to become a demon god to do it. Rune dismissed this as a childish notion of friendship trying to stop him. He insisted that he, too, was fighting for the noble sake of saving everyone. As massive stone spikes erupt, Rune's voice mocks Yuge's impertinent pretense of being a hero. Rune scoffs from across the shattered hall, calling Yuge's heroic act cocky. A massive explosion rips through the area, sending debris flying everywhere. From a safe distance, Lyra realizes EUG was fated to become a demon god. EUG shouts defiantly that he isn't worried, as his friends are in the capital. He resolves to do what he can now, even if it makes him an enemy later. Raising his gun, EUG declares that his brother will not reach the capital. His dark magic slams into Rune, sending him tumbling helplessly through the air. With blazing eyes, EUG vows that he will not let his brother escape him. Rune retaliates, sending jagged black tendrils of energy to ensnare EUG. Suddenly, Rune screams out in agony, calling the name of Jenna. EUG watches in horror as Jenna is impaled by the dark magic. From the ground, EUG fires his gun in a desperate, futile act of defiance. Rune looms over his brother, a shadow of disappointment on his face. EUG screams at his brother, telling him not to get in his way. He is trapped and helpless, surrounded by the corrupting dark tendrils. Rune looks down, genuinely confused by his brother's continued resistance. Jenna realizes with shock that the other girl is also a victim of Rune's magic. Rune laments that his younger brother simply refuses to listen to him. A piece of his metallic, eye-shaped prosthetic clatters to the dusty ground. EUG wonders what is happening as a strange, painful power surges through him. He gasps, clutching his chest as his body is racked with agony. Rune sighs, stating that this outcome simply cannot be helped now. He and Jenna's brother teleport away as EUG realizes their horrifying destination. The grand, domed buildings of the royal capital stand peacefully for now. Chaos begins to erupt in the streets of the otherwise orderly city. Princess Alicia rushes into the council room, announcing that she is late. She asks a guard for her father's whereabouts, but he hesitates to answer. Alicia is shocked to learn the king fled to a regional command post. From a doorway, Prince Sol scoffs that she has been left in charge. The remaining nobles panic, doubting the incompetent princess can lead them. Alicia despairs, feeling utterly alone and helpless while worrying for EUG. She clenches her fist, wondering what on earth she is supposed to do. Hiyori and Chris arrive, calling out to the princess in the chaotic room. Alicia turns, relieved to see her allies, and asks what is happening. A voice off-panel declares that this entire situation is his fault. Sol proclaims that he saw the proof in the ruins of the first hero. EUG is shown, still haunted by the memory of the corrupting black mist. Sol declares that the mist is the undeniable proof of the demon god. Hiyori's drone, Kanahana, cheekily asks if Sol has hit his head. The nobles whisper, convinced that EUG must have led the Mazoka here. Alicia's hand trembles as she listens to the rising tide of accusations. She stands firm, declaring that now is not the time for such talk. Admitting their anxiety, she vows that she wants to protect the country. With tears in her eyes, she pleads that she desperately needs everyone's strength. A royal guard hesitates, unsure if they can follow her leadership. A single word hangs in the tense air. Then, Chris steps forward, announcing that the heroes will handle the Mazoku. He asks if their trust in the heroes isn't reason enough to follow her. Alicia looks on, deeply moved by the unwavering support of her friends. Hiyori playfully teases Sol, suggesting he show Alicia his cool side. Sol grits his teeth in frustration, annoyed by her pointed prodding. He shouts that he will, so they had all better watch him closely. Alicia enthusiastically agrees, promising to do her best in the meantime. Lyra reminds them all that it is far too early to give up hope. Alicia clasps her hands together, resolving to do what she must. "Let us protect this country," she declares, and the room erupts in cheers. Taking command, Alicia says they first need to assess the situation. A maid suddenly cries out, pointing towards the window in alarm. EUG is seen falling from the sky, trailing plumes of black smoke. A guard recognizes the figure as EG, horrified by his corrupted appearance. A blinding light begins to shine high in the sky above the city. A massive explosion of pure light detonates, visible to the entire capital. Alicia screams Yug's name, her hand covering her mouth in shock. A guard orders soldiers to rush to his location on the ground. Alicia watches in stunned silence, a single tear tracing a path down her cheek. Rune descends from the heavens, his angelic wings spread wide in glory. A citizen below recognizes him, crying out the name of the hero, Rune. Rune's metallic eye prosthetic gleams brightly in the divine light. Alicia and the others are buffeted by the force of his grand arrival. Hiyori wonders what is happening, confused by the sudden turn of events. Rune proclaims to the masses that they are being manipulated by his brother. An elderly noble asks what he could possibly mean by such an accusation. Rune smiles slyly, ready to deliver his carefully crafted, devastating lie. He declares to the crowd that his brother is the next demon god. He claims he tried to stop him, but that EUG refused to listen. He pleads with the people to help him stop the demon god's revival. A citizen asks if they're truly being asked to help the hero. Alicia stares in disbelief, unable to comprehend her friend's betrayal. The crowd roars its approval, pledging to do as the great hero asks. Alicia is frozen in shock by the crowd's immediate, fervent acceptance. She tries to tell them it's not true, but they're already hunting Eug. She realizes with horror that her voice isn't reaching them at all. She despairs, her hands clasped in a desperate prayer for Eug's safety. A maid calls out to the princess as she rushes towards the door. Eug crashes into a forest clearing, groaning in pain from the impact. He realizes he was completely played. It was all just a performance. He understands Rune's plan was to use him to lure everyone in. He struggles to his feet, knowing he must warn the others quickly. He worries for Alicia, feeling the heavy effects of the black mist. His eyes widen as he sees familiar figures in the clearing ahead. Lyra attends to Jenna's brother, who looks just like the Mizoka boy from before. The boy stirs on the ground, his eyes slowly beginning to open. Eug takes a sharp breath, sensing that something is terribly wrong. He tries to speak to the boy, who mutters that he will not forgive him. Eug is stunned as the boy vows to kill the one who murdered his sister. The boy clutches his head, his mind tormented by Rune's cruel manipulation. His eyes snap open, filled with a crazed, singular, and terrifying purpose. Eug realizes with alarm that something is very wrong with his demeanor. The boy takes a firm, deliberate step forward, his hostile intent clear. He whispers his new, brainwashed creed: all humans must be killed. A cloaked figure lunges from the trees, blade aimed at Eug. Eug realizes with horror that the attacker has been brainwashed. A desperate voice cries out, calling Eug's name. Princess Alicia throws herself in front of Eug, absorbing the blow. The impact sends the brainwashed attacker flying backward into the woods. From the trees, Lyra calls out Alicia's name in surprise. Eug, on the ground, asks the stunned Alicia why she's there. A brilliant, purifying light suddenly erupts from Eug's own body. He recognizes the feeling. It's the same as when Alicia saved him. Lyra's voice calls for the princess to come toward her. Lyra emerges, holding the struggling Mizoka boy in a firm headlock. A small child from the mansion steps forward, asking to be excused. She releases a purifying light, causing the brainwashed boy to scream. The boy's eyes clear as the corrupting magic is forcefully broken. He looks around in a daze, wondering what just happened to him. Alicia smiles, saying she knew it would work, much to Eug's confusion. The sound of approaching soldiers cuts through the tense silence. They hear shouts to find and defeat the demon god immediately. Lyra suggests they should hurry back to the palace before being found. The scene shifts to the grand, domed architecture of the royal palace. Lyra explains she put the strange guards to sleep on the way in. Eug shyly thanks Princess Alicia for saving his life once again. He begins to ask her about the mysterious power he just felt. Lyra proudly announces it was the goddess's purification ability. She explains that she researched it after the last incident. Apparently, a powerless royal is rarely born for a specific reason. Their lack of magic makes them a perfect vessel for the goddess's power. Alicia clutches her pendant, the shocking revelation sinking in. Tears well in her eyes as she realizes she was never abandoned. Lyra playfully tells Eug he just never noticed Alicia's importance. The group discusses their next move, worried about Rune's influence. Jenna's brother, tied up, grumbles that talking seems impossible now. Alicia asks Eug to tell them what happened with his brother. A thin panel provides a transition between scenes. Another thin panel transitions the moment. Alicia wonders if Rune plans to unite the races through brainwashing. Eug insists that no matter the problem, that method is unacceptable. Alicia realizes Rune intends to absorb the demon god itself. She resolves that they must stop him, wondering what to do. Lyra outlines their options: attack Rune or find the demon god first. She admits that their group alone might not be strong enough. Lyra then teases EUG about his dramatic, villain-like entrance earlier. Alicia asks about Liam, worried about the kingdom hunting them. Lyra reassures her that Liam is resting at home, barely holding on. Alicia then asks about Lyra's own condition. Lyra winks, boasting that she has a high resistance to brainwashing. She clasps her hands together, ready to formulate a new strategy. Alicia asks if her newfound power could be used effectively. Lyra suggests using it to neutralize the demon lord's corrupted parts. EUG agrees that the plan might just be possible. Jenna's brother argues that Alicia's safety cannot be guaranteed. EUG begins to object, but another voice cuts him off. Liam, leaning against a wall, says this is no time for leisurely debate. EUG is stunned into silence by his sudden appearance. A colossal magic circle activates, filling the sky above the capital. Lyra groans that Rune is starting his ridiculous ideal empire. A massive pillar of light descends, a city-wide mind control spell. EUG realizes with dawning horror that he was too late to stop it. He can only whisper his brother's name in utter despair. Rune stands atop a clock tower, basking in the cheers of the crowd. He smiles, his belief that he is special finally validated. A special page depicts Rune as a puppet on a throne. A flashback begins, revealing his father's obsession with their lineage. His father regretted that a demon king never appeared in his own time. He relentlessly told his sons they were special and must become heroes. Rune recalls their strict education, which he endured as EUG fell behind. He remembers how his parents praised him while discriminating against EUG. The young Rune began to feel that something was fundamentally wrong. He couldn't shake the feeling that their family situation was strange. He saw his brother as pitiable and desperately wanted to help him. He had a flash of inspiration. He would be the one to teach EUG. He believed he could change both EUG and their father's opinion of him. And so, Rune resolved to always be by his brother's side. By 10, Rune was a prodigy with EUG as a successful assistant. Everything in his life was proceeding according to his plan, until one day, he discovered a mysterious old book. It described the true hero's power, the ability to choose one's magic. He dismissed the strange text as a simple fairy tale. But soon, that fairy tale became a shocking reality before his eyes. He saw EUG manifest multiple elements and knew the book was true. His first instinct was to rush and tell their father. He realized all of their father's expectations would then shift to EUG. He knew what he had to do, but felt terribly wrong. A dark, selfish thought consumed him. He refused to be surpassed. He approached EUG, forbidding him from ever using that strange power. He couldn't bear the thought of his life's work becoming meaningless. He decided that if no one knew, he could remain the hero. He later reread the book, learning the truth of demon gods and heroes. He learned that becoming a demon god was tied to one's mental state. He then placed a magical restriction on EUG to keep him dependent. The final battle against the demon lord was the culmination of his efforts. But as the blade struck him, he felt God's silent disapproval. God did not permit his actions. He had been so close to his goal. EUG cries out, wondering if this is some kind of divine punishment. But Rune realized in that moment his true destiny was just beginning. Arriving in Crispell, he came to a profound new understanding. He was meant to be summoned to the capital, but something went awry. He decided this world needed him. He was the truly chosen one. A dark thought took root. It was fine if he was the only special one. He would become even more special by becoming a hero to the Mizoku. Rune recalls protecting the Mizoku, gaining their trust, and subjugating their demon lords. With his allies secured, he muses that only the demon god remains to be defeated. A self-satisfied smile crosses his face as he reaffirms his own special destiny. From a quiet library, Rune reflects on the long path he has traveled to this point. His wish is nearly fulfilled. His command will now purge the evil from this world. A dark resolve fills him as he thinks. Therefore, His smile turns possessive as he wonders if EUG will finally move as he wishes. EUG, unaware of his brother's twisted thoughts, watches the chaos with concern. Smoke rises from the damaged capital, a city thrown into turmoil by Rune's machinations. Knights search the panicked streets, hunting for the one now branded demon god, EUG. From the shadows, EUG peeks out, his expression etched with worry for the citizens. A close-up reveals his determined gaze, ready to face the crisis his brother created. In the palace, Theodred laments the warped justice of brainwashing for world peace. Hiyori anxiously asks if there is any way to reverse the mind control on the Mizoku. Lyra explains that while countermeasures are possible, their time is perilously short. Alicia shrewdly guesses Rune is inactive because he has exhausted his magical power. Her hand clenches into a tight fist as her resolve hardens. She declares her intent to strike now, refusing to simply endure another attack. Sol praises her spirit, calling her his woman, a claim she instantly denies. The arrogant prince then turns his attention to the assembled nobles and guards. He loudly questions the conviction of the soldiers gathered in the throne room. Theodred admits with shame that the rest of the royal family has already fled. It's revealed the remaining soldiers were all saved by Alicia's unique healing power. Theodred confesses his parents evacuated him the moment the Mizoku first attacked. A furious noble grabs the young prince, demanding to know why he abandoned his sister. Another official shouts that Alicia summoned the heroes and must bear this burden alone. Theodred asks for their forgiveness for his cowardice, then offers his gratitude. Alicia gently pats her brother's head, thanking him for his courage in returning. Hiyori's drone, Kanahana, cheekily comments on the terrible quality of their parents. Chris tries to steer the conversation back to the problem of the brainwashing. Lyra muses that she might be able to break the spell if Rune is far enough away. Sol, being carried off, insists a simple surprise attack will be enough to win. EUG warns that fighting Rune recklessly is dangerous, as his power has grown immensely. Hiyori suggests they find the demon god's location before Rune can reach it. Jenna reveals it is rumored to be in the ruins of an old ducal house. Liam angrily points at EUG, blaming him for the destruction of their home. A royal guard voices his distrust, questioning if the Mizoku were truly brainwashed. EUG looks troubled, pondering the meaning behind being called the next demon god. Jenna confirms the brainwashing is real, as she was the one to break her own curse. The guard realizes with horror that this means the rumors of EUG are also true. Alicia offers another possibility, that EUG is the second coming of the first hero. EUG confirms the demon god is the fallen first hero, a truth he found in the ruins. He explains that Rune is their descendant, sharing their bloodline. The truth is revealed. The hero and demon god originally shared the same power. Alicia realizes their roles are defined only by how their immense power is used. A noble rallies the guards, insisting they cannot be fooled by appearances. EUG is an ally. Lyra points out Rune's angelic looks hide demonic actions, unlike Yu's honest eyes. She then introduces herself as Lyra Laurel, stunning the room with her noble title. The guards look utterly ashamed, having doubted a member of the Laurel clan. Chris turns to their captive, Jenna, and asks what she will do now. Jenna glares, declaring her hatred for humanity is unchanged. But her anger at being used by Rune is greater. She will help defeat him. Chris and Alicia's cheerful gratitude completely overwhelms the flustered Jenna. With their alliance tentatively formed, Chris asks for her name. She looks away shyly, quietly introducing herself as Jenna. Alicia happily welcomes her, while Jenna silently vows not to get attached. Lyra asks EUG to elaborate on his strategy involving the princess's power. EUG explains Alicia's ability reacts to mistaken power, allowing her to weaken Rune. Jenna smirks, stating that with her teleportation magic, getting Alicia close is no issue. The heroes debate the risks, but Soul chides them for their hesitation. EUG raises a hand, revealing there is another, more critical part to his plan. He believes he can restore the other heroes to their full, unrestricted power. Soul lets out a shout of pure, unadulterated shock from across the room. He demands to know why EUG withheld this, but EUG explains it is not so simple. To use this power, he must forsake his versatile multi-attribute magic forever. He confesses he wanted to defeat his brother using the magic he knew so well. But clenching his fist, he knows he will regret it if he does not act now. Lyra smiles, understanding that he has finally decided upon his true magic. Alicia looks on with deep concern, whispering Yuge's name. With a firm nod, EUG confirms his decision is made. Soul scoffs, saying he never had any expectations for Yuge's fighting power anyway. He tells the dejected EUG that if he fails, the blame will be his alone. Alicia stands, ready to meet their resolve, as Jenna asks for their orders. Rune's voice echoes, a memory reminding EUG that they are running out of time. EUG reflects on his past failures, of acting selfishly without true understanding. He wonders if he and Rune could have had a better bond if he had just communicated. Alicia's voice pulls him from his reverie, seeing his shadowed expression. Chris watches him with a silent, serious gaze. Hiyori looks at him, her expression filled with concern. Soul lets out a determined shout, ready for the coming battle. Chris addresses the room, noting that all their disparate wills have become one. Lyra watches the unlikely alliance form with a knowing smile. Jenna observes silently, her resolve to defeat Rune hardening. The young Prince Theodred and the other nobles look on with newfound hope. EUG looks over his new allies, thinking to himself that this is a good party. Beside him, Alicia shares his smile, agreeing with his sentiment completely. On the balcony, Alicia declares they will all protect this kingdom together. Suddenly, Soul shouts in outrage, refusing to be a mere decoy. He complains that such an unglamorous role is beneath a hero of his stature. He brandishes a massive, bladed weapon, preparing to make his own grand entrance. Alicia reaches out in alarm, calling his name, but it is too late. A thunderous explosion rips through the side of the Grand Council room. Soul declares he will provide the opening fireworks, leaving EUG to question his sanity. High above the city, Rune dismisses the explosion as a crude tactic. He stands on the rubble, wondering if all otherworldly heroes are such savages. With a burst of speed, he leaps from his perch into the heart of the city. He effortlessly engages both Chris and Hiyori in a dazzling display of combat. Chris's face contorts in shock at his opponent's overwhelming speed and power. Hiyori is equally stunned, barely managing to dodge a lightning-fast strike. Jenna prepares to enter the fray, telling them to leave this to her. A massive explosion of pure magic ripped through the sky above the capital. Hiyori watched from above, wondering if their desperate gambit had finally succeeded. She recalled how EUG had empowered them all to face his brother together. But from the heavens, Rune unleashed a terrifying barrage of dark, screaming skulls. Prince Soul stared in shock, demanding to know what this horrifying magic was. Hiyori grit her teeth, declaring this was not the power of a savior. EUG countered that the outcome was all that mattered. He had a job to do. With a simple gesture of his hand, he prepared to unleash his own power. A forest of massive stone spikes erupted violently from the city streets below. He then summoned a monstrous, heavily armored chimera to join the fray. A ferocious, winged tiger beast materialized amidst the rubble-strewn streets. A mighty dragon joined the chaos, commanded by Rune to play with the heroes. Another demonic beast took to the skies, adding to the city's terror. Hiyori cried out for the citizens, as Chris affirmed they could handle the new threats. Soul intercepted a blast, shouting they couldn't afford to ignore Rune. The resurrected Jenna appeared, telling EUG to quickly deal with the beasts and return. Chris smiled confidently, assuring EUG they would manage things in the meantime. High above the chaos, Rune watched the unfolding battle with detached interest. He coolly asked Jenna if she was betraying him, but she denied ever trusting him. EUG pleaded with his brother to stop, his voice filled with anguish for everyone. He confessed his own pain, not wanting to hurt anyone or fight his brother. Rune's smile was a chilling mask as he asked if they were the true obstacle. His words sent a jolt through EUG as Rune called out his name. He offered a final chance, asking EUG to join him in saving the world. EUG was momentarily lost in memory, whispering his brother's name in confusion. The illusion shattered, and he demanded to know if this was truly salvation. Rune seemed genuinely confused, asking EUG what was wrong with his own path. He turned away, spitting that he wouldn't be lectured by his lazy brother. Rune revealed the source of his rage. EUG was this world's true hero. He had been so close to achieving his dream before being robbed of it. Before a grand magic circle, he vowed that this time he would be the hero. He warned that he would not forgive anyone who dared to stand in his way. Jenna's voice cut through his declaration, questioning his true intentions. EUG accused him of sacrificing the world for his own selfish validation. But Rune grew annoyed as Jenna appeared within their shared mental battlefield. He contemptuously dismissed her accusation with a quiet, chilling whisper. Enraged, he lashed out with dark tendrils, screaming at Yuge's ignorance. The attack struck Jenna as Rune mocked his brother's supposedly twisted nature. A shadowy hand reached down, ready to finish the defiant Mizoka girl. EUG screamed her name in terror as another blast detonated beside her. He fired his gun, realizing with despair that they were completely outmatched. Utterly desperate, he frantically searched for a way out of this nightmare. A new hope arrived as Alicia and Lyra flew in, tossing him an object. It was a single, powerful bullet, and he accepted it with profound gratitude. His gun transformed into its revolver cannon mode, ready for the special round. He slammed the bullet home, knowing this was their final, desperate gambit. He fired a massive blast as Rune recognized the bullet he himself had made. Rune noted the immense recoil, surprised his brother could now handle it. But with a flash of light, Rune vanished just before the blast connected. EUG stared in disbelief, his mind reeling from his brother's disappearance. He frantically searched the sky, wondering where his brother could have gone. Suddenly, the very sky shattered as a pillar of light erupted from the city. Even Rune was stunned by the scale of the cataclysmic event unfolding. On the ground, a dazed Mizoku soldier looked around in utter confusion. The streets were now filled with thousands of bewildered, once-controlled Mizoku. Alicia quickly took charge, reassuring the confused crowd that they were safe. Rune ordered the now-freed Mizoku to go home and cause no more trouble. He demanded to know what happened, unable to comprehend the bullet's power. EUG explained that their secret weapon had been modified by the brilliant Lyra. Jenna revealed the bullet was a delivery system for Alicia's purification magic. Rune scoffed at the idea, but EUG calmly confirmed it was the truth. He explained that Alicia's divine power specifically targets and negates mistaken magic. He looked his brother in the eye, declaring that his magic was fundamentally wrong. With the plan in ruins, EUG urged his brother to be the one to surrender. Rune was lost in denial, unable to accept that he could possibly be wrong. He then had a manic realization. He just needed to absorb the demon god. His friends watched in horror as Rune descended further into his madness. He flew away from the scene, screaming his own infallibility to the sky. He declared his twisted mission to save everyone as darkness consumed him. He was completely enveloped in a swirling vortex of corrupting dark energy. He emerged in a new, demonic form, declaring it was because he was the hero. EUG and Jenna could only stare in horror at his monstrous new form. He revealed it was simple to find the demon god by using the demon king's power. With a serene smile, he confirmed he now wielded the demon god's magic. He vowed to use this ultimate power to finally bring peace to the world. Alicia, horrified by his madness, asked the stunned EUG what they should do. EUG knew their original plan was useless. Now, they had to destroy his brother. With no other choice, he resolved to accelerate their final, desperate strategy. His face set with determination, he announced it was time to choose his magic. The moment of destiny had arrived. It was time for the choice of magic. A divine being offered him the power to save this suffering world. Rune watched with a smirk, acknowledging this was a power he never possessed. He mused that the light attribute will be the most logical choice for a hero. But EUG knew better than to make such an obvious, straightforward choice. A memory of the ancient ruins flashed in his mind. Have you forgotten? Rune unleashed a sphere of light, declaring himself the true wielder of that power. The resulting explosion ripped through the city with devastating force. Chris shielded his friends from the blast, cursing Rune for being a monster. His defensive magic held strong, protecting the others from the immense power. They watched from a rooftop, realizing the attack was far beyond their expectations. He questioned his choice, wondering if a defensive magic might be more optimal. He grit his teeth, praying that his desperate strategy would actually work. High above, Hiyori flew towards him, her trust in him unwavering. She reminded him that this was a plan they had all created together. Chris, cutting down a monster, reassured him that everything would be all right. Soul joined in, adding his own voice to their chorus of encouragement. Alicia looked at him with absolute faith, her eyes pleading for him to believe. Her words reached him, urging him to save the world alongside his friends. Lyra added that his power would surely answer the wishes of them all. He looked at his brother, his resolve hardening. That's right, he thought, with a firm resolve burning in his eye. Yuji knows that he is not alone. He channels his will, declaring that he will fight for the sake of everyone. His voice echoes with power as he announces the magic he has finally chosen. A beautiful, celestial being with 3 eyes materializes before him in a flash of light. A colossal dragon bursts into existence, followed by a host of mythical creatures. The summoned dragon unleashes a torrent of energy, striking the demonic Rune. Rune identifies the attack as summoning magic, scoffing that it could ever defeat him. He maintains a condescending smile, utterly confident in his own overwhelming power. Suddenly, the sky fills with a storm of legendary swords raining down upon him. The enchanted blades, each a hero's weapon, streak through the air with deadly intent. EUG explains these are the weapons of heroes past, resonating with his will to protect. The combined assault of beasts and blades creates a maelstrom of destruction around Rune. Rune questions why EUG grants the wishes of past failures instead of the people here. He accuses EUG of simply relying on others, doubting they can truly save the world. Jenna appears on a griffin, furiously telling Rune not to make a fool of her brother. She looses an arrow of pure energy that streaks directly towards the distracted Rune. She retorts that being a hero who just stands at the front seems much easier. Rune easily dodges, dismissing her words as jealousy and telling her to say what she wants. EUG stands defiant, declaring that they are all fighting this battle together. Rune realizes the weapons are mediums, but knows high-level summons require contract. He taunts EUG, asking if he thinks he would do nothing during the casting time. EUG calmly loads his revolver, revealing that the contract has already been completed. He explains that his role is simply to connect the paths and bring their powers together. He pulls the trigger, the gun flashing as it unleashes its true purpose. A supreme summoning circle materializes as he fires his weapon into the sky. Rune looks up in shock, recognizing the spell as an otherworldly summoning. 3 massive pillars of pure light descend from the heavens onto his monstrous minions. The city shakes as the pillars of light completely obliterate the summoned beasts. He watches in disbelief as his powerful chimeras are wiped out in an instant. He realizes with horror that EUG might be summoning the other heroes themselves. Alicia smiles from below, correcting Rune on what EUG has truly summoned. Hiyori emerges, transformed, declaring it is the power of the hero's very worlds. Feathers of light drift past as Chris is enveloped in a brilliant energy. Demonic energy crackles around Soul, transforming his armor and amplifying his strength. Chris stands ready in his new holy armor, his true power finally unleashed. Soul grins wickedly, reveling in the surge of power from his own awakened form. Chris moves in a blur, his empowered blade clashing against Rune's defenses. Soul follows up with a devastating blow, his immense power shaking the ground. Hiyori swoops in from above, launching her own empowered attack from the sky. Jenna watches in utter amazement, witnessing the true power of the otherworldly heroes. EUG explains that as the anchor, he allows his friends to use their full power. Rune clicks his tongue in annoyance, frustrated by this unexpected turn of events. He prepares a powerful counterattack, warning them not to get too carried away. Chris calmly states that with the Chimeras gone, Rune is their only remaining target. Hiyori declares that they will now show him the full extent of their power. They unleash a massive combined blast, telling him to accept his defeat gracefully. Jenna watches the explosion, wondering if their combined attack was finally enough. But Rune emerges from a sphere of darkness, completely unharmed by the blast. He glares at them, muttering that they have gotten far too carried away. He unleashes a massive beam of dark energy, telling them not to get cocky. Chris blocks the attack as Rune questions if 3 people can truly defeat him. Rune boasts of having the power of the demon god and multiple demon lords. The beam is deflected, but the strain on the heroes is beginning to show. He spots another summoning circle, knowing it's too close to block completely. He assumes that since EUG just cast a big spell, this one must be minor. But it is Princess Alicia who flies towards him, her hand outstretched. He stares in shock, wondering what she could possibly do by coming here. She places her hand upon his demonic form, releasing a brilliant flash of light. The divine light washes over him, and his connection to the dark power wavers. He screams her name, commanding her to begone as he unleashes a desperate attack. He feels his power fading, realizing with horror that the purification is real. In a flash, Jenna swoops in to intervene before Rune's attack can land. Jenna grabs the weakened princess, pulling her to safety in the nick of time. Rune's attack smashes into the empty ground where Alicia had just been standing. Chris sees the opportunity, shouting for the others to attack while Rune is weakened. A single, impossible thought enters Rune's mind. Is he actually going to lose? He can't accept it. He was perfect, chosen to save this world, so close to victory. His mind fractures as he wonders if he is doomed to fail at being a hero again. His world shatters into darkness, a single thought forming in the chaos. His despair curdles into blame, deciding this is entirely Yuge's fault. He questions why he is the villain when he only wanted to save the world. He screams that if EUG had just stayed weak, he could have remained the hero. Chris impales him, but Rune sneers at the failure, unleashing a final attack. Hiyori cries out in alarm as Chris is caught in the point-blank explosion. He unleashes a blast, screaming that he won't accept it, that he is not wrong. EUG knows in his heart that the one who is truly wrong. Rune summons a final, perfect circle of 1,000 swords, leaving no escape. He points down from the sky, his voice a chilling final verdict. It's you.